Então vamos lá. A gente vai começar o nosso ditado em 3, 2, 1. Corrigindo, ficou o seguinte: detalhes do vídeo, legislação, introdução, resolução 6, 9, 7, 2, 0, 1, 8, RAF, como Romeu, Alfa, Foxtrot, PAULO, PY2EXU, SP, ponto. Lembrando, né, o ponto que a gente está usando é o Papa Tango, ok? Isso aqui. Lembrando que tem uma outra forma, que é isso aqui. Na tela eu tenho usado a primeira, tá? Papa Tango, ok? Abreviação de ponto. Bom, lendo mais uma vez o texto, então ficou o seguinte: detalhes do vídeo, legislação, introdução, resolução, sexto, nono, sétimo, segundo, negativo, primo, oitavo, Romeu, Alfa, Foxtrot, Paulo, PY2EXU, SP, SP. Ponto. Tranquilo? Então, tá aí o texto. E quem teve alguma dificuldade, faz uma revisão, ok? Repete esse mesmo texto. Falei que ia dar uns 9 minutos no máximo, mas deu 7 minutos. Né? Uma aulinha bem rápida, um texto aí pequeno, bem tranquilo. Então, boa sorte. Você que está aí com uma certa dificuldade em números, faz uma revisão, ok? Nas aulas anteriores, você chega lá em números, tá? Treina, né? Faz aqueles treinos de repetição, nos números que você tem mais dificuldade, e boa sorte, ok? Faz a manipulação também, tá? Não só ouvindo as aulas que eu passei, mas manipulando também alguns textos, números, tá bom? Lembrando, a Anatel está abrindo inscrições para a classe B, ok? Então, a legislação, por enquanto, permanece, não tivemos mudança. E a Anatel aí abrindo inscrições em todo o Brasil, classe A, classe B e classe C, tranquilo? Eu tenho aí vários amigos me informando, já passaram informações em vários estados aí do Brasil, tá? E quem pretendia fazer, agora já pode fazer, ok? Estou esperando, né, abrir inscrições, pode fazer inscrições, tá? Dá uma olhada onde tem classe B, né? Lembrando, qualquer estado que tenha inscrição aberta, você pode fazer a inscrição, ok? Não é só São Paulo, tranquilo? Abriu no Amazonas, Rio Grande do Norte, Minas, Rio de Janeiro, Rio Grande do Sul, vai lá e se inscreve, tranquilo, tá bom? Vai ter o dia, a hora, né? E dá uma lida, né, nos procedimentos, né, preparatórios para fazer a provinha online, tranquilo? Então, boa prova, boa sorte. E eu estou liberando esse vídeo agora para os amigos. Agora são 17 horas, 7 minutos. Lembrando também que janeiro, segunda-feira, dia 2, a gente começam 3 novos cursos. Quem for fazer com a gente vai se preparando, ok? Tem aí na primeira edição, também teremos na segunda edição e principalmente para deficientes visuais. Também primeira edição e segunda edição, ok? Então vai se preparando, chega rapidinho, né? Dia 2 está aí, ó. Praticamente já estamos na metade de dezembro, ok? Vai se preparando, quem for fazer classe B, boa sorte e a gente aguarda os amigos. E vamos lá, oportunidade já retornando em legislação.
So currently we've got the Vox on, and as you can see, I'm just talking. I held the microphone up, and it's currently gone into transmit, and I'm going to stop talking. And it's gone back into standard receive mode. Now I've got the microphone currently about a foot away from my face, and I'm not pressing the key when this is keying up. I just move it closer. I moved it about 3 inches away. Now I'm talking, and it currently is keyed up and transmitting. So you can set the sensitivity. So if you go in here to the box settings, again, you can set the sensitivity. If we set it real low, it'll actually start keying up, even though the microphone is sitting on the desk right now. Or you can set it up pretty high, level 9 here. Audio, I can't even really get it to register there. So those are your settings. Your delay here, if you have it on a long delay, move the setting back down here. And on the long delay, what that means is right now I've started talking and it's keyed up, as you can see the TX. And if I stop talking, it has quite a long delay while it rekeys there. So you can set the length of the delay depending on how long, if you have big pauses between your talking. I guess if you're a real slow talker and you go, hey, I wanted to say hello. There he goes. It'll give you a bit longer delay there rather than cutting out and then cutting back in. So that is the voice activated feature on that. Yeah, let's show you the back of the radio and pop the cover, show you the inside. Okay, back of the radio, guys. We've got our 3-pin power connection here. I love that everyone's starting to go to the standard now. It makes it a lot easier with power plugs. Standard antenna connection, your coax, voice, activated microphone here. So if you wanted to use a aftermarket microphone, maybe have a ham radio Vox mic, you can plug that in there. Exterior external speaker right here. So you can plug in your external speaker, and that's it. So pretty much all the features on the front and on the back. You guys ready to see the inside? Let me get the covers.
Então, boa tarde para o nosso amigo Jardel. E aí, Jardel, tudo tranquilo? Grande abraço. PY2EXU, Kilo Mike Echo, lá por Poá. Parabéns, viu, Jardel? Eu vi as fotos do evento, amigos que foram, só elogios, hein? Muito bacana. E você sempre à frente, sempre aí, liderando os eventos na cidade de Poá. Então, parabéns mesmo e continue aí com essa garra e com essa energia. E também parabéns para o jovem, eu vi um jovem lá que, né, foi sucedendo lá os caminhos das pedras e classe A, né, com 15 anos, olha que maravilha, hein? Andei vendo alguns vídeos lá que você postou, ok? Muito, muito bom. Parabéns, viu, Jardel? Excelente ali o trabalho e continue assim, tá bom? E conta com a nossa rodada alto-falante. Precisando divulgar aí qualquer evento, conta com a gente, tá bom, Jardel? Grande abraço e tudo de bom.
Radio, so definitely something if you're looking for extra power to set it up with an amplifier. But very cool little radio, very compact, very clean inside, very nicely done, and actually performs very nicely. So I'm excited, and check out the other video. We'll show you the frequency modification as well as just the adjustment points. Go over those very quick. CB Radio Magazine, President Grant 2, brand new single sideband radio.
Radio 161, great to make the hook up there, Matt. This is about. Yeah, Matt, J. Juliet Alpha Yankee was my name for you.
Hello, this is CBRadioMagazine.com, and I'm excited to show you guys the new President Lincoln 2. I showed you the new President Grant 2 just recently, and the Lincoln 2 is a little bit of a step up in terms of features. The radios are definitely being tiered towards two different audiences for marketing, but Lincoln 2, very cool. Lots of new features on it, and we'll go through all of those for you, of course. It just came out, released in Europe. It isn't currently going to be distributed in the United States, but I'm sure you guys will figure out how to get them over here. Size-wise, the radio, let's see if I can throw the Grant 2 on top here. You'll see the Grant 2 comes out on the edges a little bit more. So it's a little bit wider. It uses that unit in 980 casing. It's also its height. So the height on the Grant 2 is going to be taller. It would be a little difficult to DIN mount the Grant 2 unless you had a larger DIN slot. The Lincoln 2 is actually going to be a little bit easier fit, more like the CRE 8900. In terms of the depth of the radio, the Lincoln 2, of course, is going to be a little bit deeper because it has a heatsink on it. It's a dual final radio, whereas the President Grant 2 was a single final, so it didn't require the heatsink on the back. Let's go through the features. I know you guys are itching to see all this stuff, and I'll point out the obvious ones first of all. We've got volume here on off as well. RF power in the middle, control your power output. Squelch. This also has the automatic squelch feature. If it's all the way counterclockwise, it will automatically initiate that in AM and FM modes. Up here we've got mic gain on the inside, RF gain on the outside. Clarifier, it's receive only, not unlocked, but you don't need it to be unlocked because you can change the increments on this radio for tuning steps. Channel selection knob here actually changes your frequency, and I'll talk about the channel step real quick here. You can see there's a little line underneath it, very much like the original Lincoln, and so you can change the tuning steps on it. So that's why you shouldn't really need to unlock the clarifier in this sense. Going through the buttons, we've got a memory function here where you can store and access your memory frequencies. The menu takes you into a whole lot of menu options, much like the Anytone and CRE radios. Channel up, channel down features here. And those also work within the menu for certain things. Over on the left-hand side, we've got a scan feature, dual watch, and these are the secondary functions. So if you hold the button in, it goes to the secondary function. Scan through the band, dual watch. We've got a noise blank ANL and a high cut feature. Echo set, you can set the time and delay. Roger beep, and also a ketone beep. If you press any button on the radio, it beeps. If you turn it off, it's just silent. Roger beep, you can actually adjust the tone and delay, much like the CRE 8900. CH channel 19 and 9, automatic quick button just to go through those ones. There's also a lock feature here. There's an indicator here where you can go through and show what you want to show, voltage or SWR here when you're transmitting, or you can show the frequency, the call function, so you can press it to send a tone burst. Split frequency setup here. This radio does have split frequencies. You can hold it down, secondary function to set them. Mode button to go through AM, FM, lower sideband, and then your CTC, SS, and DCS tones for repeaters. Band, this is to jump through the different frequency banks to go from down low all the way up into the 10-meter band. In expanded mode, it's going to give you that ability. This radio has the ability to be opened up for additional frequencies. 10 kilohertz jump there. Vox on here, so it does have a voice activated ability on it where you can just not have to key up and your voice will activate the radio for transmit. So that's a real quick overview of these, and I'm going to go into them in a little bit more detail now. I'll go into the scan function, all of these, and go through all of them. And then eventually we'll get to the menu features to show you all of those. A lot to cover, so I just wanted to give you the basics before we got too far into it. I'll show you the back of the radio real quick as well, and then we'll start to get into all the functions and show you what this radio can do. All right, here's the back of the radio on the President Lincoln 2. Your antenna connection here. Your Vox plug here. This is if you want to use a external Vox microphone, not the stock one. You can use aftermarket ones.
Ô, Jardel, grande abraço, hein? Eu vi a mensagem aí que você postou em cima, ok? Obrigado pelos votos e mandando os parabéns aí para você e para toda a turminha aí de Poá, tá bom? Vi as fotos do evento, até foi o Fernando que mandou pra gente, ok? Muita gente compareceu, vi também aquele jovem, 15 anos com classe A, enfim, parabéns aí pelo seu trabalho magnífico, tá bom? Grande amigo Jardel, sumido, né? Fazia tempo que não tinha um amigo aqui na rodada Alto-falante. E apareça aí mais vezes, tá bom, Jardel? Qualquer divulgação, fala com a gente, tá bom? Qualquer evento em Poá, acontecimento, conteste, né? Seja o que for aí do radioamadorismo, 11 metros, fala pra gente, eu divulgo, tá bom? Precisar aqui da rodada Alto-falante, conta com a gente. Tá bom, Jardel? Parabéns pelo evento e que todo ano tenhamos essa festa maravilhosa, ok? Bom, 17 horas e 17 minutos, já entrando em legislação.
Talk microphone, and actually worked quite well on the Vox voice activated feature as well. That's the microphone. All right, let's start attacking some of the functions on this radio. It's going to take a little while to go through all of these, but bear with me. First thing I want to show you is on the volume control. As we actually turn the volume, you can see it's actually scaled. Goes all the way up to 36. So if you know that your listening level that you like to listen to is at 10, you can just set it to 10 every time. You don't have to try and put it on a certain mark. You could actually say, okay, 10's where I like it, right there. That's my favorite listening level. So you can set it to volume level of 10. It goes away after just a second. RF power is not affected like that. Would have been nice to actually have that set up the same way. It'd be kind of cool to be able to set your dead key at 1 watt and know that on the RF power that was 5 on the scale, but it's not set up the same way, as you can see. Squelch button, squelch knob. If we turn it, it does act the same way as the volume control does. And it'll go back now. There. The microphone gain does the same thing as well. You can see the microphone gain scale. There. And that one will disappear in a second. RF gain, same thing as well. The clarifier, and we'll change, does not affect it. So the main buttons that you'll see that scale on the display will be the volume, the squelch, RF gain, and the microphone gain. Let's jump into the memory functions. I'll show you guys those. Basically, this radio has 6 memory functions. On your memory frequencies, you've got a memory button and a store button. So currently, let's say we're up on this frequency and we want to go to our first stored memory frequency. We've already stored them. Press the memory button once, takes us to our first selection, which is memory channel 1, and it's 27385, and you'll see here it's lower sideband. Let's go to our second selection. You use the up-down channel selection buttons here. Takes you to our second memory channel. If we hit it again, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and back to 1.
Então, vamos lá. Paramos em teletipo SSB. Tá? Então, teletipo SSB tem uma forma de identificação, ok? Você encontra isso como emissão J2B, tá bom? Emissão J2B significa a mesma coisa que teletipo em banda lateral, que é transmissão de telegrafia para recepção automática em modulação por amplitude, banda lateral única. Depois tem mais características, né, do tipo de modulação, natureza do sinal, informações, enfim. A parte toda eu não vou entrar, né, não tem necessidade, só a identificação, conhecer aí os modos, ok? As emissões. Por exemplo, fonia em AM. Quem faz 11 metros, tem lá tal da fonia em AM ou, né, em banda lateral. Aqui também, no radioamadorismo, qualquer banda aí tem a possibilidade de AM. Algumas não, né, mas uma grande parte tem. E no seu rádio também, né? Pode ser que tenha AM, pode ser que tenha só FM, enfim. Qual que é a forma de identificação do AM, ok? Então, essa emissão você encontra aqui de 3 formas em AM. A3E, ok? Emissão em AM, porém, com faixa lateral dupla. Telefonia. Você tem H3E, que é faixa lateral única, portadora completa, e R3E, que é uma faixa lateral única, portadora reduzida ou nível variável, tá bom? Então, só em fonia AM você tem essas 3 possibilidades de emissão aqui, ó. A3E, H3E e R3E, ok? Porém, as 3 falam de fonia e amplitude modulada, ok? Bom, a gente vai dar mais um intervalo. Eu vou trazer uma notícia boa para os amigos. O nosso amigo Magnum estava internado, ok? E no domingo, o Sérgio PY2EXU Alpha Charlie trouxe a informação que ele já saiu do hospital e se encontra em casa, ok? Então, uma boa notícia que nós tivemos aí no domingo, ontem, e com isso, a possibilidade aí do amigo logo estar conosco é bem grande, ok? Então, fica a dica aí da recuperação do amigo Magno, e já está em casa ali, né, numa fase aí final de recuperação, ok? Logo indo lá no ponto de encontro dos radioamadores, batendo papo com a gente aqui na rodada. Então tá aí. O Serjão também já tá aí com a gente faz tempo, né? Ele esteve também internado, teve alta lá do médico, foi para casa e agora, já umas 2, 3 semanas aí ele tá tranquilo, né? Passeando, indo no ponto de encontro lá dos radioamadores. Hermelino Matarazzo, aliás, esse evento de domingo foi o último, ok? 2022, agora só dia 8, domingo, janeiro de 2023. Então fica a dica aí para os amigos. Bom, vou dar intervalo e já retornando em legislação.
Your current power is on the DC voltage. If you hold it in while you're transmitting, you can choose in between. If you press it while you're transmitting, you can choose in between the SRF meter, SWR, or showing the voltage. So you get to choose what you want. If you hold it in, it sends out a tone burst on the call frequency. Old school repeaters, I guess. In that sense, splits, you can set up your splits on this radio. The split frequency is something that a lot of the radios didn't have, and so it's kind of cool they do have it on here, very much like the 2950. For the split frequency option, when you press split, it says split frequencies on. Press it again, split frequency off. When you actually are in the actual mode transmitting, it'll be flashing. If we hold it in to set the split frequency, in the frequency you can set the offset here. This is actually pretty cool because it shows the frequency and the amount of the offset. I know on some radios it just shows the offset, so it's oops. It's nice to be able to see that. It also gives you the option positive, negative, up or down on your offset. So that's your split frequencies. Hopefully you guys understand what those are. If you don't, you may just want to look it up on the ham radio sites. The band, if you have expanded this radio, this will take you through all the different frequency bands. Goes all the way up to J and then back to A. If you have not unlocked the radio, it'll be in the 10 meter and it'll alternate between two bands in the 10 meter, two different banks of frequencies there. 10 kilohertz function, hold that in, goes up 10 kilohertz and back. Mode button. You can see here AM, FM, upper sideband, lower sideband. Sorry, it's being displayed over here if you're having trouble following. CW mode, PA, back to normal. In the PA mode, you'll notice here, that's actually the volume level and it's controlled by the mic gain. So if you do plug in a PA function, you want to hear yourself talk, or you're going to run a loudspeaker in the car or whatever, you might want to turn this down a little bit before you plug it in because it's quite loud. So there you go. And back to frequencies. All right. Vox set. Vox feature turns on the voice activated feature. Hold it in. We can go into our sensitivity, anti-vox, and delay. Sensitivity is obviously how sensitive it is when it picks up the signal, so you can adjust that. Anti-vox is so that the voice is coming back through the speaker when you're talking to someone. Don't set it off. And the delay is the amount of delay after you stop talking, or sorry, in between when you stop talking and when it unkeys. So that's how the voice activated feature works for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that. So that's all the buttons pretty much. The only one we haven't touched on is the menu functions, and that's going to take a while to go through. So I'm actually going to make a separate video for that, just so this one doesn't run too long. We've got a 6-pin microphone connection here, and I'm going to pop the cover, show you guys the inside on this video, just to show you where the modification locations are, and then definitely check out the menu functions. And we'll show this radio in some different colors and stuff, the display and all the rest of the features. We're going to show you a couple different views of the inside, but right now we're looking towards the back of the radio. And as you can see, lots of coils in here, dual finals. You can see the shielding as well here, which is nice to see. The tuning points, again, surface mount technology. They are very small in here, but they
Opa, deixa eu dar retorno para o Jardel. Quanto aos certificados, eles já estão para ser entregues lá no ponto de encontro de radioamadores Ermelino Matarazzo, tá bom, Jardel? Já tem um amigo que vai distribuir, tá bom? A gente vai só marcar o dia e todo domingo sim, domingo não, né? Que vai ter o evento. A partir do ano que vem a gente vai estar distribuindo, independente de participar ou não da rodada alto-falante, né, os diplomas, ok? Os diplomas no padrão ali oficial, né, A4, dá para pôr num quadrinho, dá para pôr numa moldura, fica bem legal na parede. É um diploma bem bonito, tá bom? É o terceiro diploma de uma série de vários que nós já tivemos, ok? E ele vai voltar a ser... Com a pandemia a gente parou, né? Mas agora ano que vem a gente volta novamente a entregar os diplomas, tá bom? Então já tem um amigo, né, que vai distribuir lá em Ermelino Matarazzo. Tá bom, Jardel? A partir do ano que vem a gente começa a distribuição, ok? Então, a qualquer momento vai poder ser retirado esses diplomas lá no ponto de encontro de radioamadores em Ermelino Matarazzo. Tá ok? Fica mais fácil e sem burocracia, né? Porque antes, quando nós fizemos essa última série, foram 1.000 diplomas, né? Desses 1.000 diplomas sobraram muitos ainda, né? Então, a gente não está mais fazendo a brincadeira, né, de fazer 20 contatos para receber o diploma. Então, quem estiver por lá, já retira com esse nosso amigo, tá bom? Só vai aguardar a virada do ano e eu já te informo aí o nome de quem e aonde você vai retirar lá em Ermelino Matarazzo. Tá bom, Jardel? Aí você tira para você, pessoal aí de Poá também, não tem problema. Tranquilo? Quanto ao Léo, eu acompanhei por lá, hein? Eu vi lá no vídeo, né, que vocês postaram a idade que ele começou no radioamadorismo, né? Muito, muito legal, hein? Parabéns aí pro Léo e parabéns para você, né, que foi o grande mentor, né, Jardel? Que maravilha, em 12 anos, começando no radioamadorismo, como classe C, depois 14 anos classe B e 15 anos classe A, né? Exemplo aí para muito marmanjo, né? Legal mesmo, tá bom, Jardel? Então tá aí. Qualquer coisa, divulga aqui com a gente, ok? Qualquer evento, acontecimento aí do radioamadorismo, na cidade de Poá, dá um alô pra gente, eu divulgo aqui na rodada Alto-falante, tranquilo? Sempre à disposição aí do amigo. E quanto aos diplomas, a partir do ano que vem, sendo distribuído lá em Ermelino Matarazzo, tá bom? Esse amigo já está com a caixa, né, dos diplomas, a gente não mais vai enviar pelo correio, é só retirando lá mesmo, tranquilo? E na virada do ano eu já passo, né, no dia certinho vai ter os eventos e com quem você procura para retirar os diplomas, tá bom? E vamos em frente. Oportunidade aos amigos com boa tarde.
With a swing to about 20 watts, I'm sure you could tune it up for a little bit more swing. Definitely swings better than the CRE 8900 did initially. And it does have a little more swing, obviously, in power than the Grant 2 is. That's a single final radio. The FM outputs 30 watts as well. Audio quality on AM and FM is very good. It's not going to be a screamer on AM Magnum Galaxy style, but it's very good audio. It's clear, has a little bit of a punch to it. So it's very nice, even with the stock microphone. Single sideband audio quality is very good. It's a little bit less processed sounding than the Grant 2. Lincoln 2, much more natural. Sounds very good. A little bit better in terms of audio quality even than the CRE 8900, which impressed me. So in terms of how you're going to sound on the air, I don't think you have any worries with this radio. The receiver on this radio is very good as well, very comparable to the CRE 8900 in sound and the ability to pick up stations out in the distance. I will say the Grant 2, after testing between the Lincoln 2 and the Grant 2 has a little bit better receiver on it. It's actually a little bit quieter and easy to hear some of those really far off stations that are barely moving the needle. Just a little bit better receiver. It's a little easier on the ears. The Lincoln 2, again, it's very similar to the CRE 8900, which is one of my favorite radios recently. So it definitely is no problem at all on the receive, but it does have a little bit of that background noise, kind of like, the old 2950 issue with a little bit of that staticky noise. And that's something we ran into on the CRE 8900 as well. And initially you might go, it's a little staticky sounding, but you get used to it very quickly, and it's not really anything to be worried about. So I don't really want to overemphasize it at all here. I'm just mentioning it, but there definitely is a little bit of background noise. The Grant 2 is really, really quiet, so it does have a little bit better receiver on the Grant 2. So overall, very nice layout on the radio, very nice controls, very easy to see, small size, good output, excellent audio on the air. I'm going to jump into the menu functions on a whole separate video here. So hopefully it's giving you a good look at this radio initially. And what we'll do is we'll post up a full written review with all the information, features, links to the manual, stuff like that for you. So hope you enjoyed it. President Lincoln 2, CBRadioMagazine.com.
Radio 161, great to make the hook up there, mate. This is your about. Matt J. Juliet Alpha Yankee was my name for your further.
Hello, this is CBRadioMagazine.com, and we've got a fun one for you today. Hadn't made a video in a while, just hadn't been a whole lot of new radios on the market, and not a whole lot of old ones that I wanted to mess with lately, but I went through a garage sale, and they had a realistic Navajo TRC 459. This is a 40 channel AM and single sideband base station. This is definitely an older model, no longer produced. Sold by Radio Shack under the Realistic brand. SBE actually kind of had one that was similar, but used a little bit different guts inside of it. These are pretty rare these days. I haven't seen a whole lot of these around. You'll see them on eBay every once in a while. It actually is kind of the base model version of the mobile that I did earlier. I think was the TRC 480 that has the scan functions on it. This radio does as well. The radio is kind of interesting. It's a low profile compared to a lot of our Washingtons, Madisons, those kinds that are.
Positivo. E aí, Fernando? Tudo em paz, tranquilo? Grande abraço. PY2 Tango Mike Oscar, um excelente final de tarde e tudo de bom, Fernando. Como que está o molho por aí? PY2EXU, Paulo, adiante.
Ô Paulo, boa tarde, Marcos, São Bernardo, tá bom.
Ô Marcos, grande abraço, hein? Nossa, a modulação é igual a do Fernando. Me enganou. Mas deixa contigo, Marcos. Grande abraço, adiante.
Não, positivo, Paulo. Eu tô fazendo uns negócios aqui em casa, aqui, tô com um colega aqui, tava mostrando para ele como funciona aí. A minha anteninha móvel na minha janela.
Positivo. Então tá aí. Boa tarde, Marcos. Boa tarde, amigo do Marcos. Só não peguei indicativo, depois você me passa, Marcos. PY2EXU, Paulo, adiante.
Positivo, não chegou ainda, Paulo. 30 dias corrido. 30 dias corrido. É o antigo PU2 ovo, queijo.
Positivo. Então, vamos aguardar, né? O que você está usando, Marcos? Que antena, que potência? Aquele dia a gente comentou, né, sobre rádios, um monte de coisa, mas eu não lembro aí que antena e qual o ganho dessa antena, tá bom, Marcos? E quanto ao teu amigo aí, grande abraço, tá bom? É amigo do Marcos, é nosso amigo. Fala, Marcos, adiante.
Positivo. O equipamento é uma FT 1500 e a antena é uma 270 da Aquarius. Móvel.
Sabe qual o ganho dela?
Eu acredito que seja uns 4, 5 dB de ganho. Não passa disso aí, não.
Ok, maravilha. E teu amigo também vai querer ser radioamador, ou Marcos? Tá pensando ainda, tá só conhecendo o hobby?
É o Ferreira que tá aqui de Diadema, o Ferreira de Diadema. Ele já fala no rádio aí. É o Ferreira.
O Ferreira é amigo nosso. O Ferreira tá sempre aí com a gente na rodada Alto-falante. E aí, Ferreira, tudo em paz, tranquilo? Um grande abraço e um ótimo final de tarde, tá bom? Põe ele para falar um pouquinho, Marcos. Ô, Ferreira, grande abraço, tudo de bom, adiante.
QSL, Paulo, satisfação imensa ouvir. Estou aqui na casa do Marcos aqui, negociando os negócios. Tá bom, Paulo? 73, você é a família, hein? É PU2 Yankee Alpha India. Ferreira por São Bernardo do Campo, na casa do colega. Tá bom, Paulo? Boa tarde para seus amigos aí, QSL.
Positivo, Ferreira. Então já é radioamador. Conhece o riscado, né, Ferreira? Legal, hein? Legal. Então, bons negócios, hein? Bons negócios e que todo mundo fique contente, né, Marcos? PY2EXU, Paulo, adiante.
Positivo não, Paulo. Ele tá levando um belíssimo equipamento, né? Ele tá levando um 721A da minha base, era particular meu. Ele conseguiu me conquistar aqui e levou.
Positivo. Não, o Ferreira é boa gente, hein? Ferreira é um grande radioamador. Há quantos anos, né, Ferreira? Tá aí sempre batendo papo. De vez em quando ele some, né? O Ferreira dá uma doril, às vezes em quando, né? Dá um sumiço, né, o Ferreira? Mas aparece, né? Passa lá uns meses, aí esse que o Ferreira tá de volta, né? Mas maravilha. Então, que seja aí bom para os dois, né? Estando ok, né, para ambas as partes. Aqui e agora. Lembra, Ferreira? Lembra essa parte lá do programa, aí, esse programa é velho, hein? Nossa. Aqui agora, hein? Estando bom para ambas as partes. Aqui agora. Fala, Marcos, adiante.
Não, positivo, eu tô aqui negociando uns PX, 11 metros aqui, beleza? Vou ficar aqui na sua coruja, Paulo. Tá bom? Um grande abraço a todos que estão na coruja aí, aquele 73 maravilhoso. E vamos que vamos. Tô contente com o equipamento que ele me trouxe aqui.
Positivo. Então tá aí, bons negócios e que todo mundo aí fique contente. Só eu que não tô contente, ô Ferreira. Só vocês estão ganhando rádio e tal, e trocando, e comprando, e vendendo. Eu aqui não levei nada, hein? Nem um conectorzinho, Ferreira. Não sobra nada aqui pra gente?
Tá aqui. Ele tá pasmo aqui com um monte de rádio. Ele falou assim, um cara pra gostar de rádio que nem você não tá igual. E todos estão ligados.
Assim é bom, né? Assim que é bom, né, Marcos? Legal, legal. Bom, pode continuar aí. Deve ter um cafezinho, deve ter um papo bom aí. E a gente prossegue. Deixa eu abrir oportunidade aos amigos. Oportunidade com boa tarde.
Quick, I'll show you that first. If you want to write a frequency into the memory on this radio, you type in the channel you want to memorize. So let's do, let's do 06, channel 6, AM mode. We'll do memory write. We'll press the M1 position. It's now saved to M1. Let's say we also want to do 38 lower sideband. We'll type in channel 38. We'll put our mode on lower sideband. We hit the memory write position, the M2 button there. And now we've saved that to position 2. So let me show you. We do memory out, M1. We've gone to channel 6, AM. Memory out, M2, channel 38 lower sideband. It's actually kind of neat because it remembers both the frequency and the mode. A lot of radios did not do that. Nowadays they do, but back in the day, this was pretty fancy stuff, right? So you can do a clear channel or busy channel scan. Clear channel scan, it will scan through on the auto scan. Once you press the auto scan button through clear channels, hit this button here to hit stop. It's also the 0 button. If you put it on busy channel, you turn up the squelch, hit the auto scan button. It'll scan through looking for channels that break the squelch, stations that are loud enough, strong enough signal to break the squelch on the radio. We can stop that. Memory scan, it will scan through the frequencies that you've saved. So we've only saved channel 1, 38, and 6, since we just powered on the radio. So it's scanning through those frequencies on both AM and lower sideband. So that's pretty cool as well. That's it. That's it for functions on the radio. Very simple. I will show you guys the back, and we'll pop the cover, take a look inside, and give you a little bit overview of the performance on this radio. Okay, standard AC cord coming in here. You can hook it up 12 volt if you want to, take it in the car. PA speaker, external speaker jack, PA speaker jack. This is your SWR control calibration. So if you're going to calibrate the radio, that's where you calibrate it. And over here is your coax plug. So let's pop the covers. I'll show you the inside of the radio. Okay, we're looking at the back right part of the radio. You can see the coax connector here. VR14 is going to be your AM power adjustment. This is VR14 down in here. That is your AM power adjustment to set your dead key. All right, just a little ways over towards the front, this is your channel display here. Down in here is VR13. And we're not going to be able to get that close in there, but this is VR13 right there. These are in the plastic. You see it like a circle with plastic in it. That is going to be your AMC modulation control. That's your modulation control. And if you go up from VR14 towards the middle of the radio, and this is VR4 and VR5. Those are your ALC adjustments. VR4 is a single tone. VR5 is your two tone. If you don't have a generator or understand what that means, then you probably shouldn't mess with them. The radio itself, operation-wise, it's kind of fun with the functions. Again, the sliders, I'm not real big on those because they do end up getting a little bit of buildup and having some problems. Receive is okay on the radio. Nothing special, but it's all right. The transmit is subpar on this particular model. The modulation just was never great on these. There's been a couple people who have written on the topic. I know Woody had Woody's Gazette or whatever had a good little write-up on it. But yeah, just not a whole lot of swing on these. You can clip the limiters and stuff, but that's not necessarily a good idea either. They just are not modulation monsters. Not going to get a whole lot of swing on AM or sideband. You can use a power mic and you probably sound decent. Again, they're just not going to be up to the standard of some of the more classic popular radios or even some of the newer radios. Not something I necessarily hold on to as a classic. Again, this is the realistic TRC 459. And for those of you who want to bug out, go for it. The rest of you can stick around and see all the annoying screws on this thing. I'll just show you how I put it together and took it apart. Okay, so when we took this thing apart, you have to make sure, and you lift the cover off, you take off the external speaker plug, and the connection for that is right here over by the power supply. You also want to make sure to be careful of your cables here going up to your keypad and down into your board there when you remove it. So first thing is we're going to hook up our external speaker, put our cover back on.
Nosso amigo Alexandre, PY2EXU Papa Oscar Zulu. Grande abraço, hein, Alexandre? Tudo de bom. E a aula de CW já acabou, tá bom? A gente está na aula de legislação. A gente passa um trechinho, dá uma pausa, passa mais um trechinho, tá bom? Então, a aula de telegrafia já foi. E agora, na aula de legislação. Tá bom, Alexandre? Tudo em paz, tranquilo aí? Então, maravilha. Sim. Esse áudio é do técnico que mexe com rádio, demonstrando equipamento, abrindo, né? Hoje o departamento é só 11 metros, hein? Só rádios para 11 metros. Tá bom? Se você curte, como nós curtimos, olha lá. Um realístico aí, clássico, hein? Olha que radinho clássico de 11 metros. Bacaninha, né? Show de bola. Bom, então a gente continua com a nossa aula de legislação. Transmissão de telefonia em modulação de amplitude. Tranquilo? Próximo, olha lá, frequência modulada. A gente faz aqui em 2 metros. Então, fonia FM, /PM, transmissão de telefonia em modulação ou de fase ou frequência. Ok? Então, frequência modulada. Tá aqui, ó. F3E, ok? É a frequência modulada. FM ou, se encontrar essa sigla, F3E, né, sabe que é a mesma coisa que FM, ok? Modulação em frequência. E PM é modulação em fase, então é o G3E, ok? E você tem duas possibilidades, frequência modulada ou pulso, ok? Fase. Tá? Aqui é modulação de frequência. Tá aqui, ó, FM, F3E e PM, G3E. SSB, tranquilo também, todo mundo conhece. O que é fonia em SSB? Transmissão de telefonia em modulação de amplitude. Faixa lateral única. Então, fonia SSB. Identificação J3E. Você pode encontrar em alguns livros, materiais didáticos aí pela internet, é uma forma mais técnica, né, identificar os tipos de emissão, ok? Então, nem sempre vai estar esse SSB, o FM ou AM. Você pode encontrar essas siglas, tá bom? Que é a mesma coisa. Então, para fonia em SSB, identificação, emissão J3E. Que é faixa lateral única com portadora suprimida. Por exemplo, Morse, né? Morse em AM, tem uma identificação também. Então, você não está especificamente em CW, né? Você está praticando o código Morse, porém, em amplitude modulada. A Morse em modulação AM. Tá? Com a finalidade de identificação da estação ou prática de telegrafia. Tá? Esse modo Morse AM se identifica aqui dessa forma, a emissão A2A, ok? A2A é uma nomenclatura mais técnica, porém, né, significa AM, ok? No caso, a telegrafia, né? Você vai fazer telegrafia em AM. O próximo é o que eu faço nas nossas aulas aqui, ok? A gente pratica CW, né, da aula de telegrafia, porém, né, em cima do FM, ok? Que é o que eu faço aqui, ó. A gente está com uma portadora contínua, né, em frequência modulada e telegrafia em cima, ó lá. Ok? Isso se caracteriza como Morse FM, tá bom? Ou seja, né, a gente vai estar usando aqui frequência modulada e jogando a aula de telegrafia em cima, ok? Então, Morse em modulação FM, tranquilo? É o F2A. Emissão é F2A, ok? Se for PM, tá? Prato de telefonia FM ou PM, já entra aqui emissão G2A, ok? G2A, canal 1, informação quantificada ou digital. Bom, tudo isso então, você encontra na legislação, ok? Quem quiser dar uma olhada nas tabelas, são várias tabelas, pega a referência. É o ato 9106/2018. Então, você encontra facilmente essa legislação e as tabelas que a gente está lendo no Google. Não precisa imprimir, não precisa nada, né? É só entrar no Google, coloca o ato 9106/2018 e uma dica. Tá? Escreve Anatel, digita Anatel na frente, ok? Quando você digita Anatel na frente, a busca é rápida, em 1 segundo aparece a norma aí, que é a nossa. Se você não colocar Anatel, pode vir normas aí da esfera federal, estadual, municipal, outras áreas aí de todo o Brasil, ok? Quando você colocar Anatel, é só na área de telecomunicações. Na área de telecomunicações, né, só essa norma pertence a nós, radioamadores, e é a primeirona que aparece na tela, ok? Então fica a dica aí. Tudo isso que eu estou lendo, né, tudo baseado, fundamentado nas normas do radioamadorismo, tranquilo? Alguma dúvida, pergunta para a gente aí, ok? Bom, vou abrir espaço para os amigos e já retornando em legislação.
Feature, so if we turn up the squelch, we can press the scan. It'll scan through until it hears a station break the squelch.
The other way from there, going towards Anacortes type direction.
And if nobody keys up again for a couple seconds, it will start scanning again. There it goes. And of course, it just scans through until it hits frequency where someone's talking.
Angel over for dinner tonight.
There you go. So next option, that one off, we can go to dual watch. So dual watch, you can go to one frequency, press the dual watch button, go to another frequency, press the dual watch button. It will switch back and forth in between frequencies.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would do. I watched the
When frequency breaks the squelch, it'll stay there. And when it goes back down, it'll start the dual watch function again. So very cool. This also works in the expanded mode, so that is a neat feature as well. Channel control over on the right side here, and down below we've got your fine clarifier and your coarse clarifier as the closer knob to the radio. So those are the basic features. Not a whole lot on the face. This isn't a menu-driven radio like the newer ones. This is a little old school, kind of before that. They would have been able to, of course, incorporate the microphone gain controls and RF gain stuff into it if they'd had that back at that point. But again, this was designed back in the mid-90s, so before we have the menu-driven stuff we do today. The radio can be expanded. So right now we're in a standard mode. We'll turn it off. Once you've performed the modification to the radio to expand it and open it up, you have two options. You can go into a 10-meter ham radio frequency, which will give you between 2800 megahertz and 29.700. Or you can go into a standard CB export type scenario. And in there, you can go through the bands and up to the free band, but you can't get into the ham band completely from there. So let me show you how you do that. You would hold down the DW button and the channel 9 button while you power on the radio. This is after you've performed the modification inside the radio. So we hold down the DW and the channel 9. It takes a little bit of a contortion. We let go, power it on. Now you'll see our D. And if we go to the frequency display, Actually, I'll start in this one. So channel display, you'll see the D, and right now channel 38D is our standard CB frequency single sideband that we use. And if we hit the channel 9 button, now it takes us up into the different frequencies. So it's go A, B, C, D, E, F, and back to 8. Now, if we hit the frequency button, you can see the frequencies we're on. So obviously we're not in the standard CB frequency right now. And it goes up here in the CB frequency, and now we can jump up. This is kind of where your free band are. Most of you guys like to hang out. You can see you can go up into 42, 55, etc. It does top out at, right, there we go, 28.30. So if you are like a tech license in ham radio, this isn't going to quite get you here in this mode. There's another mode where you can get in there, though. So that is cool with the expanded mode. If you want to go into the ham radio mode, what you need to do is you hold down the last channel recall and microphone gain button when you turn on the radio. And again, this takes a little bit of a contortion to do all of it. And as you can see, we are now in a ham radio frequency. So here we can scroll through the frequencies, and for you tech guys, this is where you'd want to be. But definitely can go up higher, and we even heard some guys all the way up at 29.700. The problem with this radio is that it doesn't tune in smaller increments, so going in between is going to be difficult. You can try and use your, if you unlock the clarifier, you can try and go in between a bit. But realistically, you can't go to 28.425. You can only go on the 10s. So interesting in that sense. And if you need to leave this mode and you want to go back to the CB mode, you have to, again, hold down the mic and LCR button. It takes us back into our standard CB mode. So that's the way you have to do that. You can't easily toggle between them. So interesting radio. Discussing a little bit in terms of its performance on AM radio. Will tune up to about 20 watts. Audio, yeah, it can hit about 18 to 20. On single sideband, it runs up to about 25 watts. And good strong signal. The display on this radio does dim quite a bit, and we'll discuss that in a minute. When you're talking, especially on single sideband, you'll see.
Tá, a gente vai entrar nos detalhes da sigla, ok? Mas só a correlação, tá bom? Então, praticando Morse em frequência modulada, é o F2A, ok? Tipo de emissão. Vou fazer fonia digital. E como que é a fonia digital? Tem a sigla aqui, ó. Emissão, G7E, ok? Transmissão de telefonia digital em modulação de fase ou frequência. Aí tem as identificações aqui, ó. Fase é G7E, frequência F7E, e com faixa lateral única de portadora suprimida, J2E, tá bom? Então, a forma que nós nos expressamos aqui é diferente, às vezes, da forma, né, que você tem num livro, num manual, numa outra abordagem do mesmo tema, ok? É a mesma coisa, né? Só uma linguagem diferenciada, tá bom? Dados em AM, ok? Sendo dados em AM, como que seria isso? Transmissão de dados e modulação de amplitude. Tranquilo? Então, dados em AM, a identificação da emissão está aqui, ó. A2D, ok? Alfa, segundo delta. Próxima possibilidade. Dados, FM ou PM. Transmissão de dados em modulação de frequência ou fase. Então, você tem vários tipos aqui, ó. Tem o F1D, que é frequência. Tem F2D, frequência também, cujo canal de informação quantificada ou digital, com subportadora modulada, ok? Em frequência, é sem subportadora modulada. Em frequência, né, ou com frequência, no modo digital, com subportadora modulada, ok? Depois você tem aqui, ó, emissão G1 delta e G2 delta, ok? Mesma coisa. Canal único, informação quantificada ou digital, sem subportadora modulada. Ou, mesma coisa, né? Canal único, informação quantificada ou digital, com portadora submodulada, ok? Então, por enquanto, não se preocupa nesses detalhes aqui. Se você conseguir ver o que significa, né, dados FM, né, F1D, F2D, ou impulso, em fase, né, melhor dizendo, em fase, PM, vai ser G1 delta ou G2 delta, ok? Deixa eu ver quanto temos ainda. Bom, a gente vai dar intervalo. Já continuando em emissões. Hoje é a segunda parte da legislação, ok? Quem tiver interesse, quer dar uma olhada, isso você não decora, isso você dá uma olhada e conhece como que funciona a nomenclatura, ok? As duas abordagens sobre o mesmo assunto, tá bom? Essas siglas podem ser usadas aí em documentos enviados para a Anatel, em laudos, né, quando você tem um engenheiro eletrônico responsável, né, de uma emissora, ele fala do modo de operação daquela emissora, seja AM, FM, então ele não usa a sigla como nós usamos, né, AM, FM, SSB, enfim, analógico, digital, tem toda uma nomenclatura mais profissionalizante, ok? Então, esquemas de equipamentos, né, abordagem de documentos perante a Anatel, né, laudos, né, desses equipamentos perante a Anatel, com esse tratamento, ok? É uma abordagem mais profissional, tá bom? Então, já a gente retorna, mas quem tiver interesse, você encontra tudo isso no ato 9106/2018. Tá? Ato 9106/2018. Só põe a Anatel na frente, que a busca é direta, ok? Essa única norma. Se você não puser a Anatel, vem um monte de outras normas, tá bom? Então, já retornando.
Take that off and show you that as well. Okay, does have a detachable face on it. All you need to do is just push in the button here and the face pops out. Detachable security, there you go. If you have this in your car and someone sees that the faceplate isn't on there, hopefully they would not steal your radio and break into your car. Faceplate, on the back you'll see the pins match up here and connect. As you see, when these are pressed in, you can see the pins exposed that would connect with your pins on the back. Okay, so I have gone into super zoom mode here on the camera, and hopefully this captures it. It's going to be very, very hard to see, so I apologize, but let me get a finer tip pointer here. On the right side, you're looking at the chip here, and then over to the right, you'll see there's a little black resistor here, and there's a pad right here that has to be connected right here. There's a little bridge right here. There's instructions on CB2EXU on this. They have the frequency modification on there with a drawing. So hopefully between the drawing and watching this video, you could be able to figure this out. But the first connection where you have to add solder to bridge this will be right here. The second one, let me just pan down here, is right here. And that's the second connection that would need to be made with the solder bridge, I believe. So yeah, so once you solder those 2 points, make the connection, then you can access the modes using those function buttons I showed you when you're powering the radio on. So again, solder point here, where you have to add a solder connection to 2 pads, and up at the top, right in here. And again, I said it wasn't the prettiest soldering I've seen here, but they did get the connection done and seems to work fine. When you do make the connections for the solder connections, the last thing you do is you have to reset the CPU, and you have to short number 1 and number 6 here. And this is would be same thing for a factory reset if you have a problem. So shorting number 1 and number 6 here, you would do that, and then after that, you would test the unit, and it should work fine. And again, these instructions are on CB2EXU. That's www.cb2exu.com. And of course, if you've been there before, you know there's a ton of information And I'll put their link to this modification on my website as well once I get the video listed on my website. So, yep, you have to short those pins. That's the last step. And then you should be able to have the operation, reinstall the faceplate, and you're ready to go.
The audio is real good, and it looks like you're right close to being right on frequency. So,
yeah, one of the complaints was these had a warble on single sideband, so I didn't know if it had any of that coming through or if it was pretty clear.
it's clear. I haven't detected any warble, though. It sounds real good. Yeah, it sounds better than some of the other ones you've had. Of course, you go through so many radios. Felt like I used to go through women when I was single, you know?
Oh, that probably would be more fun than all the radios I've gone through.
Yeah, that probably would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, well, you sure went through enough of them.
So just to sum it up, hopefully giving you a little walk through this radio. This was kind of an interesting radio. People either loved it or hated it. In the mobile, if there was a lot of stations nearby, it can suffer from some bleed over pretty bad. The receiver is actually quite good, though. And, you know, where I am here out in the middle of nowhere late at night, I can hear stations far off quite easily, even some of the harder to hear stations. The receive isn't too noisy that you expect on some of the digital radios. Some of the newer ones these days can be quite noisy, but this one has a very good receiver on it. These are getting hard to find again. Like I mentioned that again, it's not a whole lot of them on the market. Some of the ones that come up are broken. The faceplates don't work anymore. And some of them have been hacked up a bit too. You can remove limiters and things like that. But this radio, probably about $100 to $150 is what you spend used for one that's in working condition. And it's still one of the very few radios that can actually be mounted directly in your dash, which is still desirable. I actually have a radio mounted in my dash right now, and it's quite cool to be able to do that. 2-inch on the height of the radio, so that's why it works for that. Pretty good tune-up, about 25 watts, which is stronger than the unit in 980, a newer radio, and it can be expanded for those extra frequencies, which is, you know, the part that most people are really interested in. Again, you know, if you're into freebanding and you want to get up into those upper frequencies, this is a good radio for that. Opens it up, you can get into freeband. It's actually kind of cool because you can save the memory again of the freeband station. You can go back into the CB frequencies and save that as a memory. And you can actually switch between without switching the band, which is a neat function for memory. A lot of the newer radios these days that are sideband radios, you still have to flip around, you know, the export band selector to go from the free band back to the CB. And, you know, this one you do as well here, but with the memory frequencies, you can plug in your favorite freeband frequencies and jump up there quickly as well. So that's cool. Anyway, Midland 79290, hopefully there'll be some newer radios hitting the market this summer, maybe in the late fall. And then we can start doing some reviews on some of the newer stuff for you. And hopefully someone keeps making some of these smaller size radios. I mean, it's just easier for mounting, especially in vehicles these days. I mean, you really don't want a radio that is huge, you know, it's not going to fit in most of the vehicles. They're making the dashes so big these days as well. So something like this size-wise with these types of frequencies and export type range is awesome. So anyway, thanks again for watching. cbradiomagazine.com. Take care.
Ok, não vai acabar isso hoje, não. Ok. Eu vou até o 16, então. Estamos no 15. Maravilha. Vamos lá. Dados FM e OPM. Agora dados em banda lateral, ok? Esse tipo de emissão se identifica como J2D, ok? Se você estiver transmitindo dados em banda lateral, transmissão de dados em modulação de amplitude, faixa lateral única. Tá? Emissão J2D. Ou facsímile em AM, ok? Pode também, né? São algumas modalidades que pouquíssimos amigos aí praticam. Mas tem, né? Tem a possibilidade. Você vê como o radioamadorismo é rico, ok? Você tem um monte de opções, né, de modos de emissão, né? Tudo isso em emissões, ok? Modos de emissões. Tá? Então, facsímile em AM, olha lá. Transmissão de facsímile em modulação de amplitude, cujo tipo de emissão é A2C, Alpha 2 Charlie, ok? Tem aqui, ó, facsímile em FM ou PM. Transmissão de facsímile em modulação de amplitude, cuja emissão são as seguintes. Aqui você já tem 6 possibilidades, tá bom? Em cima, né, do facsímile FM ou PM, ok? As emissões, as siglas, né, que você identifica são G1C, G2C, G3C, ou F1C, F2C e F3C, tá bom? Bom, a gente para aqui no item 16, amanhã a gente vai entrar em facsímile banda lateral, ok? Que é facsímile SSB. Lembrando, né? Tudo isso você dá uma lida, né? Não precisa se preocupar em decorar, tá? Mas só para você conhecer quais são as modalidades que a gente usa no radioamadorismo, aquelas mais comuns, né? Como a AM, FM, banda lateral, enfim, modos digitais, né? Tudo isso tem a sua identificação e modos que não são comuns, né? Nem todos usam, ok? Por exemplo, facsímile em SSB, ok? Interessante é a sigla, né? Todas essas modalidades ou todas essas possibilidades têm uma identificação, ok? Sigla que se corresponde, tá bom? Então amanhã a gente entra no item A17, ok? Bom, agora são 18 horas, 11 minutos. Sempre lembrando, quem quiser dar uma olhada nesse conteúdo, faz parte da nossa legislação, ok? É o ato 9106/2018. Você pega facilmente no Google, pondo na frente Anatel. Tá? Quando você põe Anatel, é conteúdo somente de telecomunicação, ok? Eu recomendo, você não vê um monte de outras normas que não tem nada a ver com a gente, tá bom? Então, qualquer uma dessas normas do radioamadorismo, sempre coloca Anatel na busca, que restringe bastante aí o conteúdo e vai direto na nossa legislação, ok? Então, boa sorte. Tendo alguma dificuldade, dá um alô pra gente. Oportunidade com boa noite.
You can save frequencies and then scan those frequencies. What it'll do is it'll only scan the frequencies that you have saved. So let me show you how to save a frequency. Well, clear. Okay, so first of all, we'll go to channel 6, for instance. We'll hold in the memory button. It'll save it. And we'll go to channel 38. We'll save it. Channel 19. Save it. And now we can go into our memory scan. There we go. And you'll see it's only scanning the frequencies that I have selected. So you have the scan function, so you can scan through the entire 40 channels. And you have your memory scan. You can save your memory frequencies and then only scan them. There's one other option where you can save the memory frequencies, and then as you turn the control, it will only show the memory frequencies. That's the last option. 919 and norm button shows channel 9, channel 19, and back to norm. That's a quick access option. ANL, noise blank, and both of them. So you can select one, the other, or both. In lower sideband, upper sideband mode, only the noise blank comes on. So don't know exactly how that is working out, but that's does that as we've gone through. Talkback. Talkback is on. When you key up, you can adjust the talkback. So, oops, there we go. There we go. We key up. We can turn our talkback on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Audio test. This is upper sideband talkback. So you can see the talkback is quite loud. That's with the power microphone. The talkback is adjustable and goes up to 15. So once again, you push the button, you key up, and while you're holding the key, you can adjust the level of the talkback. Talkback works on AM and single sideband, and it sounds great. It's not some cheap talkback that's just piped through the audio section. It actually is very clear and sounds really good. So I like the talkback feature so far. Once again, very loud with the power microphone and also with the mic gain up. RF gain has a local and DX option. The microphone gain works the same as the talkback. You key up and you can adjust it between 1 and 4. The weather frequencies, you can turn those on. You can have it in a scan option, or you can just flip through them.
Issued at 4 p.m. Tuesday, June 19th, for tonight, Wednesday, and Wednesday night.
And it shows the frequency here. As far as the weather frequencies go, first of all, I wasn't real impressed with the receive on them. It didn't pick them up very sensitive relative to other weather stations I've received on other weather radios, other CBs that had weather capability. So it didn't receive it particularly well for the weather stations. I don't know exactly why that was. Second thing was, inside the radio, the squelch on the weather frequencies was actually turned up so high that I couldn't hear anything on any of them. So I actually went inside and adjusted it, and then I could hear them all. But none of them were breaking the squelch from the factory. So not super impressed with the weather function, though. It does receive fine. I did finally get one here. Normally I can receive 2 of them, but it doesn't have a real strong receive on the weather frequency. Might just be the way this was adjusted at the factory. We'll have to play with that a bit more. So we've gone through these and these buttons here. We've gone through the controls. Let's talk about your microphone jack. And we've got a microphone plug in there right now. Pull it out so you can have a look. All right, so as you can see, we've got a 6-pin microphone jack. And from the factory, they do, oops, sorry, hasty camera work tonight. They do include a special adapter. The adapter is a 6-pin to a 4-pin. They know that the majority of people are running 4-pin microphones out there, power microphones, aftermarket microphones. The radio does come with its own stock 6-pin microphone that fits the radio, but they do include the adapter because they know a lot of people are into the aftermarket stuff. The extension piece works absolutely perfectly, no problem. I hooked it up to my Turner Plus 3 that's wired to 4-pin. Also hooked it up to a stock SRA 158, no problem. And they have talked about a Bluetooth wireless microphone being available for this radio. I assume you'd plug in a little plug here, and then something would wirelessly connect from the microphone to the radio. So we'll have to see how that works when that comes out. So that's how that works. And the stock microphone, I'll show you that in the video as well here when we get a chance. And once again, you just take your 4-pin section and connect it up with your radio, or sorry, your microphone that you're using that's a 4-pin microphone. All right, get back to business here. Let's go into the function menu and show you how that works. To enter into the function menu, you'll press down on the channel selector, and it gives you the menu options here. The first thing is to go through day-night. You can select the color, you can select the contrast, the brightness, the weather scan option. You can turn that on or off. You can do the diagnostic features, and then you can exit. So first thing, we'll go into the day and the night, and you can choose the option for which one of those. You can set up each one separately. So we can go into our colors. You can pick your day color. So the whole thing is you can set up your day and night separately. So these are our 7 colors. So blue, green, light blue, red, purple, another type of green, and kind of a bright white blue. You can go into your night option, which is your dimmer option. You can select the colors there. So that way you can set it up between your night and day. I was showing you this on some of the other radios, so I don't explain it in a whole lot of detail, but basically you can go through and select, hey, during the day I want the bright, blue color that's light, and at night in the cab I don't want it to be super bright. So I'll do, a darker red color or something. So that's kind of the option for that. Contrast, you can select both your day and night contrast. contrast. I don't know how much is going to show up on the video here, but definitely gets brighter. There you go. And brightness, same thing. Dim, bright, dim, bright. There you go. Weather scan option, you can turn that on or off. Diagnostic features. You can go in and check your voltage. You press the button and it shows you your voltage. Tells you if you pass your voltage check, if you have enough voltage for the radio. You can go in and do a RF output. So we'll go into AM before we do that. All right, diagnostics, RF output, press the thing, it says push to talk. We pass, it means the output on the radio is correct. There's an antenna option, so you can check your antenna, push to talk, tells us we pass, means we have a good SWR. And those are the three options for the diagnostic check. And that's it, folks. Let's talk about the display just a little bit. Pointer stick here. Frequency is shown below here, channel up here. Of course, all of your options as you select them, AM, upper sideband, lower sideband, noise blank, scan, memory, weather alert, weather's over here, alerts here, calibration will show up, transmit, receive, local and DX, and PA option. Those are all of your display options that'll show up here on the menu, on the display. So your bar graph, segmented, so they all work individually, which is nice. So you have a nice segmented menu for your receive. The radio itself is very small. We'll show you that. It's not a full-size radio like we've had in the past. It is smaller. Should fit into installs a lot nicer. You have your front-facing microphone, of course, so it should be a little bit easier. You don't need as much space. It's not coming out the side. I am going to show you the inside of the radio, and then I'll talk a little bit about the performance we've seen so far in the output. So this is the inside of the radio. I'm going to try and show you guys some of the adjustment points. It's might get a little blurry because it's hard for the camera to zoom in on these tiny little points inside the radio. Surface mount technology, not a whole lot of wires running around like the old radios. Once again, just ribbon cables connecting the face to the board, and that's about it. The pots on the radio, they are here, and you can see some along here. You can see some here. They are quite small. And adjustment-wise, they work a little bit differently than some of the other ones that you're used to. In the back here, single final. See the coils and your power input here on this side. So let me show you the tuning points. They are labeled on the board, which is nice. ALC is going to be right back here. It's going to be for single sideband. And when you adjust these types of pots that are on these radios, when you turn them, it's not like the old style where you turn them and they hit a stopping point. These ones can go all the way around, so you can turn it to max, and if you just keep turning, it goes right back down to the lowest value again. So you have to be careful when adjusting them. That's your ALC over there. AM power output, set your dead key, is going to be over here. I believe that's RT206, a little hard to see here. So AM power is over here. AMC, there's going to be 5 pots here and then a 6th one over, and that is your AMC modulation control. And with this radio, you can pretty much turn everything up and not have a huge amount of problems. Dead key from the factory was a 4-watt dead key. I did adjust it down a little bit just to see, so you can adjust it down with the pot down to 1 watt, run your amp or whatever you want to do. And swing is not huge on AM. Even with the desk microphones, power microphones, not a huge amount of swing. Seen about 8 to 10 watts on AM swing so far. With single sideband with adjustment to the ALC, we are peaking at about 15. Your average talking is going to be about 10 to 12. So not a huge amount of wattage output. It's not, going to be quite as much as something like you'd see on a 959 with just a little bit of tuning. May have to mess around a little bit more with these to get a little bit more out. But so far, reports. I did get some excellent reports back on sideband once I made some adjustments to the ALC. Got the radio swinging a little bit. Out of the box, even before I made adjustments with just the desk mic, I made a 40-mile contact with just a barefoot radio. So actually sounded pretty good on that. And yeah, so far with the desk mic, the microphone gain turned up, ALC adjusted up. I've been told it has super nice punchy audio. So very good to hear that so far on single sideband reports are very good. Impressive on the audio. So we'll have to do some more testing to see what we think. We'll try and get some recordings on the air so you guys can hear it as well. Okay, back of the radio.
Pesquisa no Google. Tranquilo, bem fácil. Bom, então vamos lá. O ato 9.106/2018. Estamos em emissões, terceira parte, ok? Eu já vou entrar na tabela A17. Tá? Modo de emissão facsímile. Então, o modo facsímile, ou transmissão em facsímile, é modulação de amplitude em faixa lateral única, portadora suprimida, cujos tipos de emissão são os seguintes, olha lá. Temos 3 referências, hein, quando a gente fala de facsímile em banda lateral. A identificação R3C, J2C e J3C, ok? R3C, faixa lateral única com portadora reduzida ou nível variado. J2C, faixa lateral única, portadora suprimida. E J3C, faixa lateral única, portadora suprimida, ok? Eu não vou entrar em detalhes, né, somente o significado dos tipos de emissões, né, a forma correta, né, que o pessoal identifica, e o que a gente conhece como AM, FM, banda lateral, né, tudo isso tem as siglas que identificam, ok? Bom, na tabela A18, a gente fala de SSTV em SSB, ok? Lembrando, SSTV é TV de varredura lenta, ok? Slow Scan TV, tá bom? Slow Scan TV ou TV de varredura lenta. Então, isso em banda lateral. Tranquilo? Então, olha lá. Transmissão de televisão de varredura lenta em modulação de amplitude com faixa lateral única. Então, nós temos 2 tipos, olha lá. Então, você tem SSTV em banda lateral, que é R3F. Tá? R3F é faixa lateral única com portadora reduzida ou nível variável. E J3F, faixa lateral única com portadora suprimida, ok? Tabela A19. É o FSTV. É o contrário, né? É a transmissão de TV com varredura rápida, ok? Então, Fast Scan TV. Tá bom? O Fast Scan TV é a TV de varredura rápida em modulação de amplitude. Mais um intervalo. Já retornando. Ainda estamos em emissões, ok? Lembrando o ato 9.106/2018. Tá? São várias tabelas ali que você encontra essas designações, tranquilo? Como eu falei, né? Isso você não decora, só para você saber tudo sobre o nosso radioamadorismo, ok? Que é muito rico, né? Tem muita coisa, é bem legal, e eu dou uma pincelada aí para você conhecer mais profundamente, tranquilo? Então, oportunidade aos amigos com boa noite.
About a mile away on a couple of different frequencies right near, and channel rejection seems pretty good as well. Microphone gain, once you turn up the microphone gain, you add your power microphone, adjust your ALC up, your AMC, all these types of things. I think this radio is going to talk pretty well. It's going to sound pretty good on the air. Once again, the radio does not have a huge amount of AM swing. It's plenty enough to run an amplifier if you have a low drive type amplifier. You know, you can key up 1 watt, swing up around 8 watts and stuff. You know, on full power around 4 watts, you're still only swinging about 8 to 10 watts. So not a huge amount of output on AM so far. Single sideband, once we've tuned it up, we're peaking about 15 watts max, and just not going to be a huge output type radio. It's a single final radio, and I think that's okay. You match this up. If you're going to run this with an amp, you match it up with a nice amp, it's going to do really well. If you run it barefoot, based on the audio quality on the first transmit I had, even with the low power, you're probably going to be doing okay if you have a good antenna system. Like I said, I made a barefoot contact about 35, 40 miles first time out, and I didn't even have the ALC adjusted up. So we weren't even peaking 10 watts. From the factory, they are not doing much for output. So you probably will have to go in and make those adjustments, tune it up a little bit. Other than that, very nice radio, stable, good receive, fairly good transmit in terms of the output for a single final, and great audio so far on results. Now, this is a very, very preliminary review. I've only had the radio for a day, so this isn't going to be my actual review. This is just my overview and initial impressions. I'm going to do a review on the website once I've had more time to play with it. Also, initially, no additional frequencies for the radio. No idea on how to mod this thing for extra channels yet. We just got these, so I don't even know if it's going to be possible. Uniden probably is trying to walk on the legal side, so it may not be convertible for extra frequencies. This might just be your straight, AM and single sideband CB, which may be okay for most people out there. May be happy with this one. So once again, Uniden Bearcat 980 single sideband radio, retailing about $150. Most retailers might find a little better deal than that. You might find more expensive. For tune-ups, I'd wait and see before I'd pay somebody money to go in and just turn a couple pots right now. That's something most people can do themselves. If people are going to come up with their own mods for this radio, which I'm sure they will, to get them to talk a little bit louder, a little more swing, then you might have something to pay for a peak and tune. As far as tuning the radio, I guess I should say, there shouldn't be any need to align these out of the box. It's digitally controlled and everything, and so the frequency was right on. I could not have adjusted it any better myself. So there shouldn't really be any alignment necessary for the radios. So that part of it, it's not like some of the other radios we've run into, the older ones. So yeah, that's all we got right now, guys. We'll do some receive and transmit audio tests for you. Let you hear what this radio sounds like. We'll do it with the stock microphone and with some aftermarket microphones. Uniden Bearcat 980 SSB, and it's online and in stores now, ready to go.
Radio 161, great to make the hook up there, Matt. Yeah, Matt J. Juliet Alpha Yankee was my name for your further.
Hi, this is CBRadioMagazine.com, and today in front of us we've got the Stryker SR955 HP. This is new high-power single-sideband radio from Stryker. Stryker radios previously had produced AM/FM type export radios that were well known for having good, strong, loud AM modulation audio on the air. People really liked those, and so they had asked Stryker at some point to develop a single-sideband radio. Stryker spent a number of years in development, and this is the radio that they came out with. I think their goals for this radio were to produce a radio that would have that same loud, punchy audio on both AM and single sideband with good modulation and a lot of swing on AM. One of the big things was to get a radio that would have high frequency stability compared to a lot of the other export radios that had drift issues. So this is the new model that they came out with, the SR955 HP. And in our full written review that we should have up on the website shortly, we'll go through and give our review of the radio and what we think about it and how well it met some of those objectives. And for today, though, we're going to give you a full overview of the radio and show you all the features and functions. All right, out of the box, we've unpacked the radio. You can see inside the box, you get the radio, microphone, mounting bracket, power cord, mounting hardware for your thumb screws and for the mounting bracket, and your manual. This radio is software programmable, so you can do some modifications to it using some software in your computer. But my particular radio did not come with the software cable or the software. So I thought maybe it was something that you'd have to buy separately. I did email Stryker, and they said, no, it was just a mistake with the first batch of radios. They sent me off a cable and the software information and got everything within a couple of days. So good customer service on that. And yes, the cable should be coming with the radios, so you can do the software programming option with them. So this is the inside of the 955 HP. There's another video online by another gentleman who's done a very good job showing off all the shielding sections and everything, so it won't take a huge amount of time. Surface mount technology inside SMT. You'll see the shielding on important areas in the radio. shielding on the transistor section back here. Got some nice heavy duty coil section back here. The adjustment points are labeled, and they're not super tiny like you see on a lot of radios that are using the SMT stuff. So nice to see larger pots, makes it a little bit easier. They are all labeled. So you got your high power adjustment, single sideband, FM, AM modulation, meter adjustments, things like that. So everything's easily labeled and adjustable, easy to see. And as we showed before, for conversion, you do have to remove a small resistor off of the board, which is very tiny. So a little difficult to do on that one. But yeah, very clean layout with the surface mount technology these days. You get your wire bundle coming off from the face.
Tá, a sigla identificadora A3F. Você não precisa decorar, nem se preocupa, tá bom? Só conhecendo, né, um pouquinho da tabela, né, e sabendo, né, que o FSTV, nessa modalidade de AM, é identificada como A, tá bom? Emissão A3F, tá bom? A3F é FSTV em amplitude modulada, tranquilo? Ou em amplitude, né? Tá. Depois nós temos, ó, o item 20, o FSTV FM, tá? Então, TV de varredura rápida em frequência modulada, ok? E tem várias opções. De SSTV, FSTV, AM, FM, enfim. Então, agora nós vamos para frequência modulada. Então, TV de varredura lenta, TV de varredura rápida em frequência. Tá? FSTV, FM. Identificação F3F, ok? F3F é a mesma coisa que FSTV em frequência modulada. Tranquilo? Item 21. É o FSTV SSB. Ou seja, na TV de varredura rápida em banda lateral, ok? Transmissão de televisão de varredura rápida em modulação de amplitude, banda lateral única. Tá, identificação C3F. Então, toda vez que você ouvir a sigla C3F, então, C3F é a mesma coisa que TV de varredura rápida em banda lateral, ok? Tem essa forma aqui de identificação mais, vamos chamar, correta, né? São siglas, né, mais de uso profissional para quem trabalha na área de telecomunicações ou de manutenção, né, de equipamentos de telecomunicações. Então, o engenheiro dessa área, ele, né, identifica por essas siglas, ok? C3F, W7D, C3W, tá bom? Tudo isso são características desses modos de transmissão, ok? Bom, indo para modos experimentais. Os modos experimentais são nas tabelas de cada banda que a gente já leu para os amigos, tá bom? Cada banda, né, tem um comprimento de onda, né, tem um range, né, respectivo, onde começa, onde termina a frequência. E uma das colunas de possibilidades de transmissão, né, tem banda lateral, tem telegrafia, tem AM, FM, modos digitais, DV, né, digital voice, enfim. Né, além de todos esses modos, né, você tem modos experimentais, ok? A gente vai dar mais um intervalo e já retornando. Lembrando, estamos em emissões. Terceira parte, quem quiser dar uma olhada, hoje ato 9106/2018. Tranquilo? E já retornando. Oportunidade com boa noite.
All the different channels, and you have your squelch turned up, and if a signal breaks the squelch, it will stop on that frequency. There's your color changing button, of course, the one that we use to go through and cycle through all the colors. Now, the meter is something new looking. It's a digital type meter. It has your signal strength coming in here, shows your power output level here, 10 watts, 20 watts, 40 watts, 60, 80, 100, and it shows your SWR here. So you don't have to calibrate for SWR. It has an auto calibrating feature, and it will show your SWR as you have your power output. So that's a nice feature. You can actually see what your power is and what your SWR is simultaneously. Down here, there's an option. You can show the name of the radio. You can show the voltage that the radio is at, or you can have it rotate back and forth between the voltage and the radio name. So it's nice that this radio will show you what your voltage is to make sure that your radio is getting enough voltage and it's in the normal range. It'll show you your SWR, your power output, and your signal strength, and it's all visible on 1 meter. Okay, moving over just a little bit. Up here, we've got your variable power and your talkback. The MON stands for monitor. That's on the inside. You can turn your talkback off completely, or if you want talkback, you can turn it on, and it's totally variable. I found the level to be quite nice, so nice variable adjustment for talkback. Power control is on the outside. Variable power works in all modes. You can adjust your output all the way down to 1.5 watt or so on AM, up to about a 15 watt dead key on AM. Your mode switch is here: PA, FM, AM, upper sideband and lower sideband mode control switch. 4-pin microphone connection. You can connect a standard microphone that comes with it, which actually performed the best in our testing compared to a couple of different noise canceling mics and power mics and desk mics. The stock microphone matched up very, very well with the radio. 4-pin microphone though, so you can easily test out any of your 4-pin microphones that you have from other radios or whatever. We have a band VFO switch. In the band position, this allows you to go through and select which band or banks of frequencies that you're going to be in. In the middle position is after you've selected your band, you move it to the middle position, and then you can operate normally within that band. Or there is a continuous tuning VFO mode on the right-hand side here, which you can switch into, and we'll demonstrate these in a minute. This is your volume squelch control. Just like a standard radio, you can turn it off with the volume. Turn it on, variable volume control, squelch is on the outside. The radio, when you do turn it on, there is about a 2-second delay. So just be prepared when you turn it on for the first time. That 2-second delay is normal. We'll go back up here. Here is a dimming switch. So in the middle position, the switch doesn't do anything. If you move it to the left side, you can select the dimming level. It'll actually show up over here, dim, and then you can use the channel selector to select the level for the dimming. This is a high cut, this HIC over here. If you move it into this position, it creates the high cut to get rid of some of that high-end hiss. Here we have your microphone gain and RF gain control. Microphone gain is on the inside, RF gain control is on the outside. This radio has a very sensitive receiver. I actually found when I run this radio, I actually turned back the RF gain just a little bit until it gets some of the hiss out of the way, because it's almost too sensitive. A little bit oversensitive on the receive. So you will be using the RF gain a bit. I think you'll want to tune it back just a little bit. You can still hear the voices and your signals come in real well, but it does cut back on some of the hiss. Up above here, we have an ANL and noise blank option. In between, neither of them are on. On the right side, the noise blank is on. If you turn on the ANL, it also turns on the noise blank together. Some people had questioned whether this can do the ANL and noise blank at the same time. If you have it in this selection at ANL, it is doing both, or you can do just the noise blank on the right side. Over here on the right side of the radio, you'll see a switch here for Roger beep and program. When the switch is in the middle position, it's not doing anything. When it's in the Roger beep position, you can turn on your Roger beep. When you have it in the program position, it allows you to program the radio in 2 different ways. You can add or delete frequencies to be scanned. So if you have it set up for 11 meters and you have 40 channels and you want to scan, all the channels except for 17, 19, 22, whatever, you can actually set it up to bypass those frequencies, and you can add or delete using the program function. You set it to the program mode, and I'll show you all how to do all that in a minute. In the program mode, you can also change the Roger beep between up to 5 different Roger beep tones, and I will show you how to do that as well. Just below this is the echo controls, volume and delay. Volume's on the inside, which is the amount of echo and the delay is on the outside. Sorry, over here. This is your delay, so the amount of delay on the echo. You can create a lot of different types of echo tones by varying the delay and the volume. You can make it sound different. The echo is not on or off through this switch. Most of you are used to turning on the echo with the inside control for the volume for it. The echo is actually controlled through a switch up here. And it's kind of a neat feature for that, and I'll explain why. Most radios, when the on-off for the echo is through here, say you're operating on AM, and you want to turn on your echo, you turn on the switch, you set the echo where you want it for the volume and the delay. You're talking on AM, then you want to go to single sideband, and you don't want to talk with an echo on single sideband because a lot of people don't like that. So you have to turn off your echo, and now you've lost your positioning. With this radio, you can set your echo wherever you want it, and you can turn it on or off using this switch over here. And that way you never have to touch your adjustments. So a lot of guys who do like echo are really picky about it. They like to set it exactly where they want it, and they get pissed off that they have to keep messing with it when they switch back and forth. You set it where you want it, then you can just turn the echo on or off with the switch. Some of you guys hate echo, you don't like them, whatever, that's fine. But for those guys who do like echo, you will appreciate that you can turn it on and off here without messing with your adjustment settings. Once again, the switch over here, so this one, it's in the middle position, it's not doing anything. If you move it to the right, it's the echo position. The TSQ position isn't actually used for the radio normally. It's a switch to activate an optional CTCSS module, which is not in the radio. That's something optional. It's not included with this, so it's probably something most of you will not be using, but that's what that TSQ would do. Just below here, we've got our fine and coarse clarifiers. These are going to work a little bit different than you're used to on a lot of exports. The fine clarifier is on the inside. Coarse clarifier is on the outside. The fine clarifier can be set up to only adjust receive, transmit, or receive and transmit. So you can set it up, that option, to do it in those different types of modes. The coarse clarifier is on the outside, and it is going to adjust your frequency, your receive and transmit frequency. The interesting thing about this radio is in the menu, you can adjust how the tuning stages of the fine clarifier work, and you can adjust the tuning stages of the coarse clarifier. We'll show you all of that when we get into the menu functions, but it's neat to be able to adjust how these work and what the increments of tuning that they're going to be adjusting.
Então, dentre os modos experimentais estão aqui, ó, W7D, Whisky sétimo delta, ok? Whisky sétimo delta, ou W7D, é combinação de modos, amplitude, ângulo ou pulso, ok? Amplitude, ângulo ou pulso. Temos também o modos experimentais C3W, que é faixa lateral vestigial. Temos o X9D, são casos não previstos nas denominações anteriores. Tá? Então, modos experimentais aí, né, em algo aí diferenciado, uma combinação de amplitude com pulso, com ângulo, né, diferenciado, enfim. Tá bom? Tem todos os modos que eu estava lendo aqui, né, os modos experimentais, né, permitem, né, essas que eu já passei, W7 delta, C3W e o X9D. Então, essa designação X9D, né, o técnico, engenheiro de telecomunicações, quem trabalha num laboratório, manutenção de equipamentos, né, vai ter alguns equipamentos que vão ter essa designação, ok? Eles vão estar preparados para esse tipo de emissões, tá bom? Como nós, radioamadores, né? Eu falei agora, por exemplo, vamos pegar uma referência aqui, ó. Facsímile em FM. Você pega dados em banda lateral. Tem, né? Tudo isso tem designação e nós podemos usar, ok? Você pega aqui dados AM, dados em FM. Né? Você pega fonia digital, tá aqui, ó. A fonia digital, já falei, né? Foi numa outra aula, tá bom? Fonia digital, né? Com a identificação, tá aqui, ó. G7E, que é tipo de modulação em fase, F7E, que é modulação em frequência, tá? J2E, que é faixa lateral única, portadora suprimida, tá bom? Então, até no modo digital, né, que é a fonia, né, a gente conhece na tabela como DV, Digital Voice, está aqui, ó. Modo G7E, fase, F7E, frequência, e J2E, faixa lateral única com portadora suprimida, ok? Bom, a gente vai dar mais um intervalo. Lembrando, estamos lendo emissões, ok? Terceira parte é a nossa legislação do radioamadorismo. Uma das, ok? Ato 9.106/2018. Você pega no Google, ok? Sempre põe a Anatel na frente, que a legislação é pesquisada na área de telecomunicações, tranquilo? Então, dá mais um intervalo e já retornando.
Radio. So you'll be removing this resistor right here. We'll unsolder it and show you afterwards what it looks like. So we did unsolder the resistor that was right here. That spot is now empty. And let me show you the resistor. Okay, for those of you who aren't familiar with surface mount technology parts, this is one of the case screws that holds the cover on the radio, just for size reference. This is the resistor we just removed. So you get an idea how fine tip your soldering iron needs to be and how small these parts are on the radio. So that is what we just removed from the radio that's going to open it up for extended frequency operation. I would not attempt to do this type of stuff unless you have the right equipment and you feel confident in your skills. Before we dive into the function menu, let's show you the programming switch over here for the Roger beep and the scan. If we flip this into the program mode, you'll see over here the first option that comes up with is a scan option. And we flip the channel selector, second option is a Roger beep option. So let's go to the scan option. And what this allows you to do is when you press the function button, it says scan add, scan delete. So if we're on a certain frequency, we can say delete this frequency from scanning or add this frequency. Basically, all of them are going to be initially add, so you just would move it to delete, and then the frequency you're on would no longer be scanned. So we'll move out of programming mode. If we hit the scan option, we turn up our squelch here, you'll see as it's scanning, it skips over 38, which we put as a delete option. So once again, this is the programming option to set it up so you can omit certain frequencies from being scanned as you go through. And if you watch here, 37, 39, it skips it. So we can hit scan again. It'll stop our scan. If we go back into program mode, oops, sorry, we got to go back on the frequency that we're on. And we say, oh, function, we want this one added. Oops, go back the other way. There. And now it will scan channel 38 again. So that's how that programming works for the scan function. Now for the Roger beep, if you go program, we're in the scan function here. We go up, flip it to Roger beep. If we press the function option, it takes us in and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Roger beep options to choose from. And we will go through and show those to you on the air so you can hear them. They do little da-da-da-da-da-das, you know, that kind of thing, bunch of different ones. That's how the Roger beep, you can adjust it between those 5 different Roger beeps. All right, let's jump into the function menu. If you hold in the function menu for the function button for 3 seconds, it jumps you into the function menu. First thing is you can adjust the fine clarifier range. You can have it adjust 0.5 kilohertz, 1.5 kilohertz, or up to 2.5 kilohertz on the range. The next option is receive, transmit, or receive and transmit. This is for your fine clarifier. You can have your fine clarifier adjust only the receive frequency, only the transmit frequency, or it can adjust your receive and transmit tied together, and it will display up here the mode that it's operating in, as you can see up here under clarifier. So like when you unlock a clarifier on a radio for the receive and transmit to move together, that's what that would be. Okay, coarse clarifier, you can adjust the range and increments. So you can have it do 100 hertz, 1 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, or 10 kilohertz. So let me show you an option of what this would look like. In the 5 kilohertz option, When we adjust the course clarifier, you'll see it drops down, and it has a maximum range of 10 kilohertz up or down. And you'll see over here it will show how far off center that you're moving. So that's a neat feature. You can adjust that. Up to 10 kilohertz, once again, difference. Okay, so we hold on the function button, go back into the menu. Automatic squelch control. This is on AM. If you set this up on AM, automatic squelch control on AM, it'll automatically squelch and will only unsquelch when a signal breaks it. So that's the automatic squelch control if you don't want to do the manual squelch. Next up is the beep. When you have it on, anytime you touch anything, it beeps for any of the switches or other things. So that's the beep on or off. Most people want that off. Timeout timer, transmitter timeout timer. This is for if you happen to be driving along and you sit on your microphone or something, you don't want to be transmitting for an hour or something and burn up the finals in your radio, or if you know your microphone gets wedged between the seats or something. You can turn it off, or you can set the number of seconds before it times out. You don't want to set it to 30 seconds if you're a long talker, because it'll automatically stop transmitting after 30 seconds. So pick a reasonable amount of time that you don't want your radio to be transmitting for. You can set it up to 600 seconds. Next up, this is a squelch menu option. So when you have the squelch on and you're in scan mode, this is two options for that. The first option is a SQ option. This means when you're scanning, the scan would stop when a valid signal is detected, and the scan would resume after the signal disappears for 5 seconds. In the TI mode, a scan would stop when a valid signal is detected. The radio would resume scanning 5 seconds later, whether the signal disappears or not. So it just automatically will continue scanning after the signal is detected no matter what. The other one only starts scanning again once the signal disappears. Next up is something that goes along with that. This is the scan resume time. You can set this for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 15 seconds. Once again, when I was saying if the radio resumes scanning 5 seconds after a signal disappears, you can set it to do it 10 seconds, or it can wait 15 seconds before it starts scanning again. TSR, this is our SWR, transmitting SWR protection function. You can have it on or off. You can actually set the level in the software, I believe. I haven't jumped into the software yet, but on my other radios that have this option, you can set the SWR saying if it goes over a 5 or something, then turn it off and don't transmit. You can have it as low as a 2, but you can set it up how you want it on there. This is something you probably just want to leave on. It helps protect the radio. Same thing with the voltage. This is a voltage, transmit voltage indicator. If your voltage goes too high or too low, it'll stop transmitting to protect the radio. And that's what that does. You'd leave that on probably as well. LCD, this is so you can show the name striker here. You can show the voltage here all the time, or you can show the name and the voltage rotating back and forth like we had it in part of the video. This is the option here for the number of seconds of delay on the rotating colors. So if you're someone that likes the colors to rotate through the radio, kind of the Christmas tree thing, you can set it up to a 10-second delay between colors. So it'll be red for 10 seconds, green for 10 seconds, blue for 10 seconds. So now we're back to the fine clarifier adjustment. One thing I will show you, if we go into VFO mode, and then we go into the menu, there's one adjustment that doesn't show up in the normal menu if you're in the band option, and that is your channel selector step option. So you can tune in different steps for VFO option. So obviously you don't want to be tuning through a VFO with everything in a very small increment. So you can set it up to do it in 1 megahertz, 1 kilohertz, etc. So that's an option here. So for instance, we can do it in 10 kilohertz steps. Let this set, and now we're back out. And as you can see, there's our tuning option for that. So that's a nice thing about the function menu. Once again, that option only comes up when you're in the VFO mode. So that's pretty much it for the function menu. And there are some options we'll show you once we get into the software and do that video. But that pretty much shows the function menu that you'll be using day to day in the radio. Okay, so Roger beep. I know you guys wanted to hear these Roger beeps. Some people asked me. So we will go to program, go to Roger beep. We'll set it on Roger beep 1. And we will go and turn the Roger beep on. And I'll be real quiet and we'll see if we can list it on my monitor radio here. Okay, that's number 1. We'll go to program, Roger beep number 2. Go back to Roger beep. Roger beep number 2. Number 3. Number 4. And number 5. And those are your 5 Roger beeps. Once again, using the program option to go in, select which one you want, and then selecting Roger beep to go in and pick the one and then turning it on. So echo. We can turn on our monitor here and show you the echo. So echo volume on the inside, delay on the outside control. And we want to enable the echo, just flip the switch. Now the echo is on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll get you a little closer here so you can hear the echo. So we'll put the volume over here. All right. And actually, I'll turn that back up. So 9 o'clock position. 1, 2, 3. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1, 2, 3. 12 o'clock position. 1, 2, 3. And once again, when you turn down the volume, it gives a little bit different echo sound. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. That's the 3 o'clock position on the delay. 3 o'clock on the volume. And we've got maximum echo, and this is with maximum volume. 1, 2, 3. So I figured I'd show that. Everyone always asks me, why don't you show the echo in your video? So there's the echo, guys. Obviously there's settings variable anywhere in between. And once again, we were able to monitor that using the talkback function there. So let me show you the back of the radio and we'll wrap this up. All right, big heat sink on this sucker. Good size, gets a little warmed in operation with the radio peaked a bit. And, a little bit hot to the touch, but nothing awful. So big heat sink, good to heat dissipation.
Tudo telefonia, ó, tipo de informação, né? Fonia, ok? Eles colocam como telefonia, mas é fonia. Tá bom? Tudo a mesma coisa aqui, ó. No final, né? Tranquilo? Então, essas nomenclaturas, né, letras e números, né, tudo é uma forma, um padrão mais de uso profissional, mais indicado, né, para quem atua aí profissionalmente na área de telecomunicações ou manutenção de equipamentos, né? Você vai fazer manutenção, você pega lá o manual de um equipamento, né, e vai ter todas essas siglas aqui. Pô, o que é isso, né? Em marciano, jupiteriano, a linguagem dos Klingons. Não, hein? É a nossa linguagem técnica para todos esses tipos de emissão, ok? Seja FM, seja AM, seja SSB. Bom, modos analógicos, modos digitais. Tá joia? Então, com isso a gente finaliza aqui as emissões, tá? Foi a parte primeira da tabela, a parte segunda e a parte final hoje, tranquilo? Amanhã, em legislação, a gente já entra aqui num outro departamento. Ok? Amanhã, vou chegar aqui, ó. Vai para o anexo B, tá bom? O que é o anexo B? O anexo B são as definições. Tá? Tudo aquilo que eu li nas tabelas e você não sabe o que é. A CDS. O que é a CDS, né? Modos, né, que você pode utilizar, né, quando está lá em demais modos, né? Modos digitais, permitidos e demais modos permitidos. Nesses demais modos permitidos, essas definições aqui, ó. A CDS, né? Data Station por controle automático, ou seja, né, estação de dados controlados automaticamente, ok? Exemplo, olha lá. As digipeaters, nodes, gateways, APRS, WSPR, AULA, Entor, Pector, ok? Então, são todos modos em ACDS, tranquilo? Então, talvez você encontre na tabela, né, demais modos permitidos, né, entra aqui, ó, nessas definições, tá bom? A gente entra nas definições, ok? Tudo. Bom, tudo isso que a gente está lendo, você encontra no ato 9106/2018. Tranquilo? Quem tiver dúvidas, pergunta aí na live, eu coloco a legislação, não tem problema, ok? Sem problemas. Bom, vamos falar do curso. Agora em janeiro, dia 2, segunda-feira, iniciando aí mais 3 cursos na rodada alto-falante. Duração, 4 meses. Quem quiser fazer com a gente via radiofrequência, poderá fazer, mas para quem está mais aqui perto da gente, né? Se não via internet, na live, ou se os horários não permitirem, você faz via playlist, ok? É a mesma coisa, né? E você escolhe o seu horário e faz o curso aí na melhor hora que você puder fazer, tá bom? Então, boa sorte. Lembrando, vamos ter aí o curso para deficientes visuais, primeira edição, e um curso para deficientes visuais, segunda edição, ok? CW. Então, quem quiser fazer CW aí com a gente, vai se preparando. Janeiro começa, 4 meses de aulas e boa sorte. E vamos lá. Oportunidade com boa noite.
And let's get this going. We'll show you the software. We'll pop the box and then get into the radio. The new CRE8900 comes with a programming cable and software. Now, for those of you familiar with the previous larger models, the Alpha Max AM1000 and the Anytone 5555 or the CRT version, those radios all also use software. The unique thing about this radio is it does use the USB connector port right out of the back. So it comes with the USB cable, but it does have a connector that plugs right into the back of the radio, and we'll discuss that. Software comes with a disc, so you can program the radio via your computer, and we're actually going to do a separate video on that because there's a lot of information there, but a lot of tweaks you can do to the radio via the software. Very cool stuff. So as you open the box, first thing we're going to see is the user manual. It's a nice glossy manual, actually pretty quality printing compared to some of the manuals we see for radios. And inside the box, we'll see the small size of the CRE8900. And when I say small, and you look at this, I can almost just palm this radio. So it's a very small radio. It's got a large heatsink on the back, and we'll go through all of this, of course. Got our microphone over here, power cables, and other accessories in here for our mount. This is the back of the radio, and you can see the large heatsink. Our antenna connection is here. The CW key input is here, external speaker jack here. And here is our data connection. This is where your USB cable would connect for programming, and takes a standard 3-pin power cord, which is very nice. Let's take a top view and we'll show you how small this radio is, and we'll do some measurements for you. Just over 6.5 inches wide in the width, and lengthwise from the heatsink to the front. If you were going to go out to the very furthest front button, it's just over 9 1/4. So in between 9 1/4, 9.5 inches long. And the depth of the radio on the side is 2 inches in the height. So very, very small radio. And can throw my 2 meter that I've got here on top of it and give you an idea. You can see how small this particular CB radio, export radio is. just one more thing I'll show you here, again, to show you the size of this radio. So this is a RCI 2950DX, fairly standard size export radio. And what I'll do is I'll stick the smaller new radio on top of it to give you an idea of the size. So this is a standard RCI 2950DX here. And as you can see, if I line it up, so I wouldn't even have it all the way over there. If I line it up on the corner to the back, the radio is substantially smaller. So probably one of the smallest single sideband export radios we've seen. Heat-sink is actually a little bit larger than the RCI 2950DX. Extends out a little bit further, but overall, very, very compact radio. All right, guys, now down to the fun stuff. We got the radio powered up. Let's start at the left-hand side here, and I'll go through all the features and functions. Radio takes a 6-pin microphone socket. You'll see the 6-pin here. Comes with the stock microphone. Stock microphone has up-down frequency changing buttons on it. Also automatic squelch button control. You can change the frequency without actually touching the radio, which is nice. It's a small compact microphone just like the radio. It's very lightweight. We had very good results in testing so far with the stock microphone. This is your mode control. The modes available are PA, CW, AM, FM, upper sideband, and lower sideband. This is your volume and squelch control. Volume is on the inside, squelch is on the outside. The volume is also your on-off for the radio, just like many other CBs and export radios. E-tone is your echo. Echo has an on-off option. You can turn it all the way off on the inside knob. The inside knob is going to control your volume or amount, and the outside is going to be your delay. This is your RF gain on the inside, RF power on the outside. RF power is variable, so you can adjust your output in all modes. Most people are used to clarifiers that only work on receive or work and receive transmit together. This radio, your clarifier can be set up to work for receive only, transmit only, or receive and transmit together. So very neat there. You can get to that into from the menu functions, and we'll show you how to do that. The clarifier also controls your tuning increments. You can change the tuning increments. The radio will tune in 10 hertz, 100 hertz, 1 kilohertz, or 10 kilohertz options. So as you can see, you press this in, and it says push here, and you can jump to the next tuning increment. And you can, that's the way you can access all your different tuning increments or steps. Over here is your channel changing or frequency control. Just acts like any standard radio would, and it displays your channel here. The display itself is a 7-digit frequency display. It's not an active counter. It's a frequency display. It'll display your mode here for whatever mode you're in. Your SRF meter is here. This can also be an SWR meter. It'll change. We'll show you that. And your other functions are all going to show up here as we go through them. Over on the left-hand side is your band selector, so you can select your banks or frequencies. And you can see how that works there. This radio will cover from 25.615 megahertz up to 29.700 megahertz. So that is the frequency range from the factory. The frequencies are set up into a couple different ways to access them for the 10 meter versus the 11 meter type option, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Let's go through our function buttons up here on the left-hand side. The function button, you'll see here on the left-hand side, helps you access the lower features for each of the buttons. All these buttons have dual options, so each button can control 2 different features for the radio. The function also takes you into a menu, which has a lot of other options inside the radio as well. So let's start off. We'll go through these. The first one up is your Roger beep. Roger beep's on off. Roger beep is remembered by the frequency that you're on. So if you don't want to use a Roger beep on one frequency, so say on channel 37, you don't want to use a Roger beep, but on channel 38 you do, the radio remembers where you've enabled the Roger beep. Next feature over is our noise blank ANL. That's how you turn that on and off. Next up is a dual watch feature. Dual watch allows you to scan between 2 frequencies, so you can set it up on 38. We can press the dual watch button. We can go to channel 37. We press it again, and now the radio will do a dual watch scanning between the 2 frequencies. Down here is a scan option. This radio can be set up to scan through the frequencies. It's going to stay within the bank or channel band that you've set it up for, and it'll scan in there all the way through. You can also choose certain frequencies to be omitted from the scanning, and that's the secondary function here, which we'll show you. 10 kilohertz is next. See, it jumped us up. The next button is our color changing options. Radio does have different colors for the display, and you can also set it up on one of the options where it'll rotate through the colors. Next up is emergency channel 9, takes you to the channel 9 frequency, and that's the first upper level options for the buttons. Let's go to the secondary functions. Okay, secondary functions. First one up here is BP. When you have this BP option in, every time you do anything on the radio, it's going to beep to let you know that you did it. Now, it can be quite annoying if you're sitting here on a bass type atmosphere, but if you're in a mobile or something and you're worried about bumping your radio and going off frequency or turning on or off something by accident, it's actually a nice feature. It'll let you know if you bumped anything or pressed a button. Next over here, underneath the noise blank ANL, is the lock function. When that's enabled, only your band selector, mode control, and push to talk will work. If you try and do anything else, you get a lock display saying, hey, the radio is locked right now. So that's also a nice feature if you're in the mobile and you're worried about bumping something. Over here is your LCD off. You can actually turn off the LCD display. So if you don't need to display any of the functions or features on there and you just want to see your channel, you can set it up like that. Down here is a scan SC list option. So when we showed you before, we turned on the scan, it was scanning all the way through the frequency. Let's say we want to omit channel 39 and channel 40 from our scanning. We press function, the SC button. You'll see a little dot appear here, decimal. We'll do the same thing for channel 40. And now we can hit the scan button, and you'll see it'll scan all the way through. When it gets to channel 39 and 40, it'll actually omit them from our scanning. It'll jump from 38 back down to 1. So that's how that works. Next up, scan off. Okay, next up is our high cut feature. High cut cuts out a lot of that high-end hiss noise that you get sometimes. If you like to hear a little bit more bassy sound coming out of your radio, that's nice for that. And it shows up enabled over here. There's a timeout feature, and we press that on, it says timeout off, timeout on. This is for if you accidentally key your microphone, you can set the radio up to say, hey, after 2 minutes, automatically stop transmitting and reset. And so the idea is that, like, if you sat down on your microphone in your vehicle and you were sitting there for a 3-hour drive, a long road, you don't want to be keying your finals for 3 hours and not know it if you're not paying attention. This way, if you sit down on your microphone, you're keying after 2 minutes, it'll shut it off and save your transmitter. Last option here is you can turn your S meter off or on. One of the sub functions I'll show you, if you hold in the color timeout button, you'll see an SWR option came up over here. It'll actually show your SWR on the scale while that's enabled. And you can turn that back off. You just hold in that color timeout button for a couple seconds. So that's the cool stuff. Shows you all the functions on the radio and the buttons. That's your display. Now let's jump into the menu. We'll show you the cool stuff within the menu. All right, let's jump into our menu functions. This is actually a really neat part of this radio. You hold down the function key for a couple seconds, and it jumps you in. Whole bunch of options in here we'll go through. First up, ICG. This is your microphone gain. There isn't a microphone gain control knob on the radio on the front. It's actually in a menu. You can adjust it any level between 1 and 63. It's variable. You can adjust it using the microphone as well. From the factory, the default is about 31 on the scale. If you go all the way up to 63, it's quite loud. With the stock microphone, I got very good results and feedback doing some DX. Locally, people said it was a little bit better around the 31 setting in the default. The microphone gain, once again, is variable control, so anywhere between that 1 and 63, or you can actually turn it off. Next up, this is your talkback, and you can adjust your talkback scale, variable talkback. And it's talkback works in all modes. The talkback, if you set it to 10, 1, 2, 3, check, audio. Quite loud. Even down around 5 or 6 on the setting. The talkback worked fine. You shouldn't have a need to turn it up too loud, but variable talkback, very neat for that. The next option up is your side tone volume for your CW key. You can adjust this anywhere between 1 and 63 as well. This radio does have a CW key where you can plug in, and that's adjust that side tone volume. Next up, this is your beep control volume. And what this controls is when we did that BP function earlier, and every time you did anything on the radio, it beeped. If you like that fixture, but it's just too loud with that beep, you can set it to a lower volume, so it's not quite as annoying. Next up, you can adjust your variable step, and you can see the different options here. And once again, the radio tunes in 10 hertz, 100 hertz, 1 kilohertz, or 10 kilohertz options. The default is 10 hertz. And this is how you can control what you'd want your default to be. This is your clarifier control. Now, before I told you could adjust how you wanted your clarifier to work. You can have it do a fine tune, which is just receive. You can have it do T, which is transmit, or you can have it adjust both your receive and transmit frequencies. So different options for that. Also, when you push it before, we saw that it changed our step or our increments for tuning. You can also have it so that when you push it, it just adjusts the transmit, or when you push it and enables a coarse clarifier option for the clarifier. So lots of options there for that. And of course, if you don't press anything for a couple seconds on the function menu, it'll go back out to your main screen. Okay, next up, automatic squelch control, on or off. Timeout timer, you can set the timer anywhere between 600 seconds or 30 seconds. This isn't 1 minute, 50 seconds. It's actually 150 seconds. So you can set the timeout timer. Once again, if you sit down on your microphone and you're worried about burning up your finals, you can set this scale wherever you want it. Just remember that if you set it to 30 seconds, after 30 seconds of talking, if you're long-winded, it'll automatically time out. Next option is for a scanning function. It's got a TI and SQ options for scanning. When you're scanning with the radio, in the TI type function, what it's going to do is it's going to scan through, and when it hits a valid signal, it's going to stop, and then 5 seconds later, it'll resume scanning, whether that person continues to talk or not. In the SQ option, it will scan through. When it hears a valid signal, it stops, and then it resumes scanning after the signal disappears for 5 seconds. So 2 different types of scanning options. When you're in scanning mode, you can set it up to do either one of those. TSR, this is transmitting SWR protection. You can turn this on or off. When it's on, the default is a 10-to-1 ratio. If your SWR goes above that, then it will automatically stop your radio from transmitting. And the next function actually is kind of cool as well. It goes along with that. And that is a voltage option. When the radio has voltage that's either below 10.5 volts or above 16 volts, if you have this enabled, it automatically shuts off the transmitter. So neat for that. Now, this is pretty cool. This is an option so you can have the radio display different things when you transmit. So you can have it show your transmitted frequency. You can have it show your timeout timer. You can have it show your battery voltage, or you can have it show, your SWR. So if we set this to SWR, when we key the radio, I have my talkback set too high, and you'll see what I mean. We don't need to set that up very high for the talkback to work. Okay, so once again, now if we key the radio, you'll see it shows our SWR while we're transmitting. And then, if you're talking and your SWR goes up for some reason, you got bad coax or whatever, it'll display it right here. So it displays the SWR, and when
Yeah, I remember the M5 call signs. I was having a go at the
Muito bom dia. PY2 Romeo Zulu Whisky. Grande abraço. Bom domingo, Paulo. Como está o amigo aí? Família, batente, as coisas. Aqui tudo tranquilo, tá bom, Paulo? A família tá boa, todo mundo aí com saúde. E a gente tocando o barco, né? Mais um domingo. Quente, hein? Mais um domingo quente. Ontem, São Paulo chegou a 32 graus, hein? Bem quente. E a noite também não foi fresca, né? Uma noite aí bem quente também, mas tranquilo. Bom, Paulo, como que andam as coisas por aí? Grande abraço, PY2 Romeo Zulu Whisky, adiante.
PY2 EXU Uruguai, PY2RZW. Aqui tá triste, rapaz, com essas barulheiras, não tá fácil não, viu? Uma vez reclama tudo, mas vai embora e começa de novo. Então tá difícil a coisa, rapaz, e tô longe, rapaz, você precisa ver como tá, não é só eu não, os demais aqui já tá, não tá fácil a coisa, né, pô? Mas meu bom dia, Paulo. Bom dia aí a você, a todos os seus. Um excelente domingo. Esperando que passou uma excelente noite também aí junto com os seus. Tá bastante quente, né, Paulo? E durante a semana aí o corre-corre do dia a dia, né, Paulo? Não tem jeito, foi uma semana também muito tumultuada, rapaz. Nossa, coisa que a gente podia resolver tranquilo. E acabou atrapalhando um bocadinho a vida, mas te garanto que essa semana que vem agora já vai voltar tudo ao normal. Tá bom, Paulo? E é isso aí a coisa. E eu preciso ligar pro Aldos, hein? Que no domingo você sabe que eu acabei até esquecendo. Eu não ia ligar para ele a hora que eu cheguei, né? Que eu já cheguei um pouco tarde lá. Então nem liguei para lá. Mas se ele tivesse chegado, ele já tinha ligado para mim, viu? Mas em todos os casos, hoje eu estou bem mais folgado, viu, Paulo? Hoje eu estou mais folgado, eu vou aqui na filha aqui próxima, né? E vou ver se pelo menos ali por meio-dia eu estou de volta. Tá bom? PY2EXU, PY2RZW. Calorenta a noite por aqui também, tá bom, Paulo? Adiante.
Ok. PY2 Romeo, Zulu, Whisky, Paulo, Embu das Artes. O barulho do vizinho é complicado, né? Todo mundo reclama e ninguém consegue aí resolver. Parece que quando vai a polícia, eles abaixam, depois torna a subir, né, Paulo? É um jeitinho, né? Já que chamou a polícia, o delegado lá, plantonista, já falar que vai pagar uma multa de R$1.000 só. Se subir o som, alguém lá do lado ouvindo. Subiu o som, multa de R$1.000. Próximo fim de semana, né, pôs o som alto, sobe mais R$1.000. Multa, né, Paulo? E põe Honda, né? Põe lá uma viatura, 2. Da Honda passa por lá, tá volume alto, né? A polícia entra, pega equipamento, tem que, né, agir de uma forma mais rígida, né? Mas só vai dar uma bronca quando eles vão embora, eles põem volume novamente, né? Complicado, né? A gente não quer ser extremista, mas a gente vê que quando não funciona de uma forma, tem que ser de outra forma, né? Mas tá bom. Quanto ao áudio desentendido, voltado já, né? Tá em casa já, tranquilo, e curtindo lá o celular, né? Ele ia mudar, né? Parece que ele ia mudar de apartamento, né, Paulo? Ele tá curtindo lá o novo apartamento, ó, né? Bom, mais alguém na frequência? Então deixa contigo. PY2 Romeo, Zulu Whisky, Paulo, Embu das Artes.
Positivo, Paulo. PY2 é Coximbo, Uruguai. PY2 é RZW retornando. O pior, Paulo, que não é nem na casa, rapaz. Os caras encostam aqueles carros com aqueles alto-falante enorme, né? De uma potência violenta. Esse é o problema, viu? Na hora que vê, desligam tudo e vão embora, some, rapaz. Mas parece que já fica até cara de olheiro, né? É brincadeira, viu? Não tá fácil a coisa, não. Vamos ver como é que vai ficar a coisa aí. Agora, é aquilo que eu digo, né? Ninguém sabe quem é o mandante disso daí, né? Esse que é o problema. E tá difícil a coisa, hein? Tá difícil. Eu só penso, rapaz, porque você veja bem, você paga muito caro uma propriedade, principalmente em condomínio fechado, né? Até mesmo os guardas lá não tem como chegar lá e falar, né? E tá difícil. Vamos ver como é que vai ficar, viu? Era tão tranquilo, viu, pô? Era tranquilo, viu? Aí depois que entrou as invasões aí, rapaz, o negócio tá ruim, né? Tá fácil não. Pode até ser que ele chegou, viu, Paulo? Mas como ele estava com o neto que ia nascer também lá nos Estados Unidos, vai saber se ele já não mudou a rota dele, né? Foi direto para lá. Tá bom, Paulo? Por isso que ele não ligou, porque ele costuma me ligar sempre, né? Mesmo que ele não liga no fixo, até que não está funcionando, né? Porque eu funciono mais aqui com o celular, né? O fixo está sendo mantido por manter, né? Mas praticamente eu não estou fazendo uso dele, não. Tá bom, Paulo? É que de muitos e muitos anos, então a gente procura preservar, né? E é dessa forma. Hoje eu estou aqui com 706, 10 watinhos, tá bom? PY2EXU, PY2RZW.
Ok. PY2 Romeo, Zulu. Whisky, Paulo, Embu das Artes. É isso aí. Qualquer rádio aqui agora é tudo final de escala, né, Paulo? 10 watts, 20, 50, 25, né? Acho que é 25. São 25 watts, né? O chinesinho, né? Mas tá bom. Todos estão bons, hein? Todos com áudio excelente. Portadora, tudo normal, né, Paulo? Então, sem problemas. Aí teria que ter uma estratégia, né? Já que a polícia não resolve, né? Alguém aí tem uma ideia diferente, né? E pôr fim à bagunça, não é? E teria que ver, né? Alguém aí pôr alguma ideia em ação, né? Não sei qual ideia, né? Mas deve ter alguma ideia que funcione, né? Ou algumas opções aí de saída, né? Mas tudo bem. Não surge, né, um salvador da pátria, o pessoal vai dormindo aí com barulho. Ou melhor, não vai dormindo, né? Não dorme, né, Paulo? Essa barulheira toda não dorme, né? É complicado. Quanto ao áudio lá com o netinho, positivo, né? Se não foi direto lá pro filho, deve estar por aqui, né? E a qualquer momento ele aparece. Às vezes passam aí alguns meses, ele some, um certo dele aparece aí na frequência. Pedindo oportunidade, quando ele ainda com áudio, já, opa, é o áudio, né? Só o áudio eu já conheço. Ele fala indicativo, só para confirmar, né? Porque a forma de falar, característica, o timbre de voz dele é único, como o seu também, né? Quando você entra, só você tem esse timbre e a forma de falar. Ele também, né? Pode ter alguns amigos que têm o timbre de voz bem parecido, mas o jeito de falar é único, né? Então, você não precisa nem de indicativo nem de não. Eu, pelo menos, tenho essa facilidade, ok? Cada amigo que adentra eu conheço. Ele fica muito, muito tempo fora do rádio, Paulo. Pelo áudio, eu falei, eu sei quem é, né? Mas o nome, indicativo agora quem é, né? Eu não lembro o nome, posso não lembrar indicativo. Mas o timbre de voz eu sei quem é. Tá bom. Mas é isso. O ouvido vai acostumando, né? Eu tenho que estar no rádio aí desde moleque, né, Paulo? Desde os 15 anos, falando, né? Porque ouvindo rádio aí desde os 8. Eu tive o meu rádio, né? Para que eu ouvia o meu pai, né? Meu pai sempre teve rádio, sempre gostou. Ele sempre de manhãzinha punha lá numa rádio e ficava ouvindo notícia, viu, Paulo? Era todo dia, né? Dava aquele horário, ligava o radinho, ia lá fazer a barba e tal, e ouvindo o noticiário, né? Uma rádio, outra, e sempre com o radinho ali ouvindo, né, notícia. Aí tomava café, ia trabalhar, mas a gente acostuma, né? O ouvido aí tá bem afinado, né? Fica bem sensibilizado, né? Qualquer som, ruído, ou a voz de um amigo que você reconhece, né? É uma marca registrada, né, Paulo? É como o DNA, né? Você tem o seu DNA e a sua voz é o seu DNA, né? Até por mais parecido que seja de um amigo com outro, mas quando começa a falar, você já mata a charada, né? Opa, o timbre é igual, mas quando fala tem lá uma velocidade, uma forma de falar diferenciada, né? Bom, mais alguém na frequência? Então deixa contigo, Paulo. PY2 Romeo, Zulu, Whisky, em Budas Artes.
Positivo, Paulo. PY2 é Coxinga, Uruguai. PY2 RZW aqui retornando. É. É inconfundível, né? Não tem conversa, né? Você vê quando entrava, às vezes, o Marcelo ou o Rock, né? Você já percebia, mesmo muitas vezes o Rock tinha costume de entrar e falar rápido, né? Mas a turma já pegava, né? Porque o timbre de voz dele não tinha como querer se esconder, né? Não era a zebrinha de antigamente, né? Tinha turma que entrava nas repetidoras aí, eu te contar, viu? Aquela época era terrível, né? Acho que também sumiu toda essa turma, né? Porque as repetidoras, aqui eu vejo que está funcionando é aqui, essa aqui de Itapecerica, né? Mas tem outras aí também, né? Que a turma está fazendo uso aí, né? Vamos ver como é que vai ficar, né? E tem mais outra, viu, Paulo? O problema maior aqui é que você veja bem, eles, sei lá, rapaz, não sei como é que pode, né? E não tinha esse tipo de problema. Depois que teve essas invasões aí, antes das eleições, essas coisas todas, né? Agora tá difícil, viu, pô? Você vê, final de semana, de sábado para domingo, tá? Você não descansa, né, pô? Não descansa não, hein? E não pensa você que eles começam tarde, não. Quando dá 8 horas, 9 horas, já começa, né? Eu não sei como é que a turma não tá... tem muita gente que já não tá aguentando a coisa, né? Tem dessa forma aí a coisa, né? Bom, vamos falar em coisas melhores, né, Paulo? Como o rádio mesmo, né? Tá bom? PY2EXU, PY2RZW.
Ok. PY2 Romeo, Zulu, Whisky, Paulo, em Budas Artes. Falando em rádio, eu comprei, não, ganhei, né? Ganhei do Daniel, um acessório aqui muito legal, viu, Paulo? Eu tinha um suporte de microfone que era muito, muito, muito antigo. E a gente guarda, né? Sabe que rádio amador guarda as tranqueiras, né? Fio, peça.
Do all kinds of different things like appearances, and you can have multiple rotators hooked up to this. It's also an interface so that if you're using a logging program, it will, I've just put in the call sign and it will turn the antenna automatically for me. And it's really great for like calibrating and stuff. And
Mais ideal a coisa, né? Mas a gente vai juntando, né? Depois, quando vai ver, rapaz, tem um monte de coisa que nota, viu? Então a gente fica até depois desesperado para desfazer, né? Mas legal, né, rapaz? Poxa vida. Bom, você usava aí o KBS, né? Acho que você usava o KBS. Eu aqui no 706 eu não uso o KBS. Até estava dando uma olhada, Paulo, foi em 97 que eu adquiri esse 706, hein? 97, rapaz. E tá funcionando bem. Nunca me deu problema. Eu só levei lá porque isso aqui eu adquiri lá do Toninho, da Praça da Árvore, hein? Não era o WW, que antes ele era o RMD, né? Era o RMD, depois passou para WW, né? Então foi lá da Praça da Árvore que eu adquiri na época. É lançamento, né?